Lucas Reed's hands were steady as he pulled the woman from the wreckage. But when her eyes locked on his through the rain and blood, she didn't ask for help. She ordered him to run. The billionaire CEO, sprawled across his gas station floor, wasn't begging for an ambulance. She was whispering about betrayal, about enemies inside her own empire, about how the crash was no accident. And Lucas, a single father who'd spent years perfecting the art of being invisible, suddenly realized he'd just saved the one person powerful enough to destroy his entire carefully hidden life. The storm outside was nothing compared to what was coming. If you're watching this story unfold, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this tale travels across the world. The fluorescent lights hummed their usual electric song at 2:47 a.m., the kind of sound that got under your skin after enough night shifts. Lucas Reed stood behind the counter of Morrison's Gas and Go, watching headlights cut through the rain on Highway 68, each set of beams a temporary companion before disappearing back into the darkness. He'd been working nights for 3 years now. The graveyard shift paid an extra $2 an hour, and more importantly, it meant he could be home when his son Eli woke up for school. The math was simple, even if the exhaustion wasn't. "Dad, you look like a zombie," Eli had said that morning, 7 years old and already too observant for Lucas's comfort. "Zombies don't make breakfast," Lucas had replied, sliding scrambled eggs onto a plate. "They eat brains. Maybe you should try it. Might wake you up." Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Lucas rubbed his eyes and checked the security monitors. The station sat at a junction where Highway 68 met Route 14, surrounded by nothing but pine forest and the occasional deer. On clear nights, you could see stars that city people forgot existed. Tonight, the storm had rolled in around midnight, turning the world into sheets of rain and wind. He'd sent his coworker Danny home early. No point in both of them being miserable. The coffee maker gurgled behind him, producing something that technically qualified as coffee if you didn't think about it too hard. Lucas poured himself a cup and added enough sugar to kill the taste. 3 hours until dawn. Then he'd drive home, make sure Eli got on the school bus, and collapse into bed for 5 hours before the whole thing started over. It wasn't much of a life, but it was quiet, safe, predictable. And Lucas had learned the hard way that those 3 things were worth more than most people realized. The bell above the door chimed. Lucas looked up to see a truck driver shaking rain off his jacket. "Hell of a night," the man said. "Coffee's fresh," Lucas replied, which was generous. The coffee was hot. That was the best he could offer. The driver grabbed a cup and a pack of beef jerky, paid in crumpled bills, and disappeared back into the storm. Lucas returned to his usual position, leaning against the counter, watching the rain hammer the gas pumps outside. He thought about Eli's parent-teacher conference next week. Mrs. Patterson had sent a note home saying she wanted to discuss Eli's social development. Lucas knew what that meant. Eli didn't have many friends. He was quiet, kept to himself, read books during recess instead of playing with the other kids. Wonder where he learned that, Lucas thought. The wind picked up, rattling the windows. On the security monitor, Lucas watched trees bend and sway. Weather report had called for heavy rain, maybe some flooding on the low roads, nothing too serious. But something about the way the storm was building made him uneasy. His phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chen, the neighbor who watched Eli on school nights. "Eli's asleep. Don't worry. Drive safe tomorrow." Lucas typed back a quick thanks. Mrs. Chen was a widow in her 60s who treated Eli like the grandson she never had. She didn't ask questions about Lucas's past, didn't pry into why a guy in his early 30s was raising a kid alone, working nights at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. She just showed up every evening at 6, made sure Eli did his homework and brushed his teeth, and never made Lucas feel like he owed her anything more than the $50 a week he insisted on paying. Good people were rare. Lucas had learned to appreciate them. The rain intensified, drumming against the roof like 1,000 impatient fingers. Lucas checked the weather radar on his phone. The worst of it would pass in another hour or so. The sound hit him before he processed what it was. Metal screaming, glass shattering, the deep, violent crunch of impact. Lucas's head snapped up. Through the window, maybe 100 yards down Highway 68, he saw twisted metal and sparks. A car had gone off the road. He didn't think. His body moved on old instincts, grabbing the first aid kit from under the counter, hitting the emergency phone to dial 911 as he ran for the door. Morrison's gas station on Highway 68, he said to the operator. Single vehicle accident, looks bad. Send ambulance and police. He didn't wait for a response. He was already running through the rain, the first aid kit tucked under his jacket, his boots splashing through puddles that had formed in the pitted parking lot. The car, a black sedan, expensive-looking, even crumpled, had hit a utility pole head-on. The front end was completely destroyed, steam rising from the shattered hood. The airbag had deployed, and through the spider-webbed windshield, Lucas could see a figure slumped over the steering wheel. "Hey!" Lucas shouted over the rain. "Can you hear me?" No response. He tried the driver's door, jammed. The impact had crumpled the frame. Lucas ran to the passenger side, found that door equally useless. The back door opened with a groan of protesting metal. Lucas crawled inside, glass crunching under his knees. The interior smelled like deployed airbag chemicals and something else, perfume, expensive, and out of place. "I'm here to help," he said, reaching over the seat. "Can you hear me?" The figure moved. A woman's voice, surprisingly clear despite the circumstances. "Don't call anyone." Lucas blinked. "Ambulance is already coming. You need no hospitals." The woman pushed herself back from the steering wheel, and Lucas got his first good look at her face. Even bloody and rain-soaked, she was striking. Sharp features, dark hair plastered to her face, eyes that were alert despite the gash on her forehead. Mid-30s, maybe. She wore a business suit that probably cost more than Lucas made in a month. "You're hurt," Lucas said. "You need medical attention." "I need to get out of this car." She was already unbuckling her seatbelt, moving with determination despite the blood running down her face. "Help me or don't, but I'm not waiting for an ambulance." "Lady, you just hit a pole at 80 miles an hour. I know. I was there." She turned to look at him directly, and Lucas felt the full weight of those eyes. They were the color of storm clouds, and they held an intensity that made him want to step back. "Someone cut my brake line. This wasn't an accident, and if I'm still here when they come back to finish the job, I'm dead." Lucas's instincts screamed at him. Every alarm bell that had kept him alive through a past he tried not to think about was ringing. This was trouble, real trouble, the kind you ran from, not toward. "I don't," he started, "please." The word came out different from her commands, raw, scared. "I'll pay you, whatever you want. Just get me out of this car and somewhere safe. 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Lucas heard sirens in the distance, maybe 3 minutes away. He thought about Eli, asleep at Mrs. Chen's house. He thought about the quiet life he'd built, the invisible existence he'd crafted so carefully. Then he looked at the woman's face, at the genuine fear beneath the blood and the expensive suit. "Can you walk?" he asked. Relief flooded her features. "Yes." "Then move. Now." He helped her through the back door, supporting her weight as she stumbled out into the rain. She was taller than he'd expected, maybe 5'9", and she moved like someone who was hurt but refusing to admit it. "My bag," she said, pointing back at the car. "Back seat, I need it." Lucas reached in and grabbed a leather briefcase and a purse. The briefcase was heavy, reinforced, the kind that cost a fortune and probably held things worth more than the case itself. "Come on," he said, taking her arm. "There's a back room at the station. You can clean up there." They made it across the parking lot just as the first police car pulled into view, lights flashing. Lucas pushed through the employee entrance, a side door that wasn't visible from the front. Inside, he guided the woman through the storage room to the small bathroom in back. "Stay here," he said. "Don't make any noise." "You're going back out there?" "Someone has to explain the empty car." Lucas handed her the first aid kit. "Clean yourself up. I'll get rid of them as fast as I can." He didn't wait for her response. He was already moving back through the storage room, through the main station, heading for the front door just as the police officer was getting out of his car. Officer Mitchell. Lucas knew him. They'd talked a dozen times during late-night shifts, usually when Mitchell stopped for coffee and to kill time before the end of his patrol. "Lucas," Mitchell called out, "you call this in?" "Yeah, saw the crash from the station. But when I got there," Lucas gestured at the empty wreck. "Nobody inside. Driver must have crawled out before I got there." Mitchell frowned. "You didn't see anyone?" "Just the car. Thought I heard something moving in the woods, but with the rain," Lucas shrugged. "Could have been a deer." Another police car pulled up, followed by an ambulance. Mitchell walked toward the wreck, and Lucas stayed by the station entrance, watching as the first responders examined the scene. "Brake line's cut," he heard one of the officers say. Clean cut, too. Professional job. Mitchell came back, rain dripping off his hat. You're sure you didn't see anyone? Positive. You want to check the security footage? Yeah, let's do that. Lucas led him inside, pulled up the security system. He'd already checked it mentally. The cameras covered the pumps and the front door, but not the side entrance where he'd brought the woman in. The footage showed the crash happening, showed Lucas running out, showed him at the wreckage, showed him running back alone. Weird, Mitchell said. Car registered to an Iris Hale. Name ring any bells? Lucas shook his head, keeping his expression neutral. Inside, his mind was racing. Iris Hale. He'd heard that name before. Couldn't place it immediately, but it triggered something. Well, we'll put out a BOLO, Mitchell continued. If she's wandering around out there hurt, someone will find her. You did good calling it in, Lucas. Just doing the right thing. Mitchell stayed for another 20 minutes, asking questions Lucas answered with practiced calm. Finally, the police loaded up the wreck for impound and cleared out, leaving Lucas alone in the station again. He waited 5 full minutes, watching to make sure they were really gone. Then he locked the front door, flipped the sign to closed, and headed to the back room. Iris Hale sat on a folding chair, her suit jacket removed, the gash on her forehead cleaned and bandaged with surprising competence. She'd wiped most of the blood off her face and was examining her reflection in a compact mirror with clinical detachment. They gone? She asked without looking up. For now, they'll be looking for you. Let them look. She snapped the compact shut and met his eyes. Thank you for not turning me in. Don't thank me yet. I still don't know what I just got myself into. Nothing, if you're smart. Give me an hour to make some calls and I'll be gone. You'll never see me again. Lucas crossed his arms. Someone cut your brake line. You said they'd come back to finish the job. If you're here, this place becomes a target. I won't stay here. I just need... She stopped, swaying slightly in her chair. Lucas moved without thinking, catching her before she tipped over. Up close, he could see the pallor in her face, the way her pupils were slightly dilated. Concussion, he said. Probably mild, but you need to stay awake. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're in shock and possibly bleeding internally. Lucas helped her sit back down. Look, I don't know who you are or what kind of trouble you're in, but you need medical attention. I need to stay alive. Medical attention comes second. Iris pulled out her phone, checked it, and swore softly. Cracked. Perfect. Use the station phone. And give them a number to trace? No. She looked up at him. You have a car? A truck. Why? Because I need to get to a secure location, somewhere they won't think to look, and I need to do it without leaving a digital trail. She paused. I'll pay you. $50,000. Cash. Help me get somewhere safe, and the money's yours. Lucas laughed. It came out harsh, disbelieving. Lady Iris. My name is Iris. Iris. I'm a single father working night shifts at a gas station. I don't get involved in things that require $50,000 payouts. That's not my life. What is your life? The question caught him off guard. Excuse me? Your life. What is it? Wake up, go to work, go home. Repeat? No complications, no risks, no anything that might disturb the careful little bubble you've built? Lucas felt his jaw tighten. You don't know anything about me. I know you moved like a professional when you pulled me out of that car. I know you lied to the police without hesitation. I know you're hiding from something, because nobody works this job, in this place, at this age, unless they're running from something. Iris stood up, steadier now, and took a step toward him. I also know you helped me anyway, which means whatever you're running from, you're not completely dead inside yet. This is a mistake, Lucas said. Me helping you, all of it. You should go. Where? My apartment is being watched. My office is compromised. Everyone in my inner circle is a potential threat until I figure out who's trying to kill me. Her voice cracked slightly on the last words. You're the only person in the world right now who doesn't have a reason to want me dead. I don't have a reason to keep you alive either. $50,000 is a pretty good reason. Lucas shook his head. Money like that comes with strings. Always does. No strings. Just get me somewhere safe tonight. Tomorrow, I'll figure out my next move, and you can go back to your quiet life. And if whoever cut your brake line tracks you here, They won't. The crash site is 2 miles from here. By the time they realize I'm not dead in the wreck, I'll be long gone. Iris reached into her purse, pulled out a business card, and handed it to him. That's who I am, in case you were wondering. Lucas looked at the card. Black, expensive cardstock, gold lettering. Iris Hale, CEO, Hale Industries. The name clicked. Hale Industries, one of the biggest private equity firms in the country. Lucas had seen articles about them, about her, the woman who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd revolutionized corporate acquisition strategies, who was worth more money than Lucas could conceptualize. You're that Iris Hale, he said quietly. I'm that Iris Hale. Which means I have enemies who play at a level you can't imagine, but it also means I have resources, and I keep my promises. She met his eyes. 50,000, no questions asked, no strings attached. Just help me survive tonight. Lucas thought about Eli, about the parent-teacher conference, about the electric bill that was already 2 weeks overdue, and the truck that needed new tires before winter. He thought about the quiet life he'd built, and how fragile it really was. One night, he said, that's it. Then you're on your own. Relief washed over Iris's face. One night. That's all I'm asking. I need to make a call first. Lucas pulled out his phone and dialed Mrs. Chen. She answered on the third ring, voice groggy. Lucas? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something came up at work. I might not be home until later this morning. Can Eli stay with you until I get there? Of course. Everything okay? Everything's fine. I'll explain later. He hung up before she could ask more questions. Lying to Mrs. Chen made him feel sick, but what was he supposed to say? That he was harboring a billionaire CEO who might have assassins after her? Thank you, Iris said quietly. Don't thank me, and don't think this makes us friends. I'm helping you because... Lucas paused, trying to find the words. Because I know what it's like to have nowhere else to go. That's it. That's enough. Lucas grabbed his jacket. There's a motel about 20 miles from here, off the main highway. It's the kind of place that doesn't ask questions as long as you pay cash. Sounds perfect. They left through the back door, Lucas leading the way to his truck parked behind the station. It was a 10-year-old Ford, dented and paint-faded, held together by determination and duct tape. Iris climbed into the passenger seat without comment. Lucas started the engine and pulled out onto the service road, avoiding the highway. The rain had lessened to a steady drizzle, and the roads were slick but navigable. Can I ask you something? Iris said after a few minutes of silence. You can ask, doesn't mean I'll answer. The way you moved back there, the way you handled the police, that's not gas station employee training. Lucas kept his eyes on the road. I used to work in security, long time ago. What kind of security? The kind I don't talk about. Iris was quiet for a moment. Fair enough. One more question, though. What? Your son. How old is he? Lucas's hands tightened on the steering wheel. 7. Why? Just trying to understand why someone with your skills is working nights at a gas station instead of doing something that pays better. Because better paying jobs come with background checks and questions and attention. I don't want any of those things. What are you running from? None of your business. You're right. I'm sorry. Iris leaned her head against the window. I'm trying to figure out if I can trust you. Lucas laughed without humor. You already trusted me. You're in my truck. True. They drove in silence for a while, the only sound the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers and the hiss of tires on wet pavement. Lucas kept checking the rearview mirror, an old habit from a life he'd tried to leave behind. Tell me about what happened, he said finally. The brake line, you said it was cut. I had a board meeting tonight, late, ran until almost midnight. When I got to my car, Iris closed her eyes. I didn't notice anything wrong until I was on the highway. The brakes went soft, then failed completely. I tried to pump them, tried emergency brake, nothing worked. All I could do was aim for something that might slow me down without killing me. The utility pole, better than a head-on collision with another car, or going off the bridge into the river. She opened her eyes. Someone who knows how to make it look like an accident did this. Who? That's what I need to figure out. Could be any of a dozen people. I've made a lot of enemies building my company. What kind of enemies? The kind who smile to your face and plot behind your back. Corporate raiders, competitors, people I've outmaneuvered in acquisitions. Iris paused. But this feels different, more personal. Someone inside my organization had to give access to my car. Lucas processed that. How many people have access to your parking garage? At the office? 30, maybe 40. But my car is on the executive level. That's maybe a dozen people. Board members? Some, also senior executives, my assistant, head of security. Iris laughed bitterly. Head of security? That's ironic. You think it's him? I don't know what to think. That's the problem. I've built this company by knowing exactly who to trust and who to destroy. Now I can't trust anyone. The motel appeared ahead, a rundown single-story building with a flickering neon sign that read MOEL. The T was dead. Lucas had stopped here once before, months ago, when his truck had broken down. The owner was an old man who cared more about cash than names. Lucas pulled into the parking lot, which was mostly empty. Wait here. He went into the office, found the same old man watching a late-night talk show on a portable TV. Need a room, Lucas said. $40. Cash. Lucas pulled out two 20s. The old man handed him a key attached to a plastic tag with a room number. You want a receipt? No. Didn't think so. Back at the truck, Lucas led Iris to room 7. The door stuck, swollen from rain and age, and the interior smelled like cigarettes and industrial cleaner. But it was clean enough, and more importantly, it was off the grid. Home sweet home, Iris said dryly. It's not the Ritz. The Ritz has security cameras and credit card records. This is better. Lucas set her briefcase and purse on the bed. There's a diner a mile down the road. I'll get you some food. You don't have to. You need to eat. Keep your strength up. I'll be back in 20 minutes. He left before she could argue, driving through the rain to the all-night diner he'd seen on the way in. Inside, he ordered coffee and a couple of sandwiches to go, paid cash, and sat at the counter while they prepared the food. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Are you alone? Lucas stared at the message. Then another one came through. I got your number from your employee file. This is Iris. I need to tell you something. What? The board meeting tonight. We were discussing a merger. Multi-billion-dollar deal. Someone leaked details to our competitor. The deal fell through. That meeting, I was supposed to fire 3 executives who I suspected of corporate espionage. And I didn't get the chance. Someone tried to kill me first. Lucas felt ice in his stomach. This wasn't just corporate rivalry. This was something bigger. Who are you going to fire? My COO, my CFO, and my head of security. You think one of them. I think all 3 of them are working together. And I think they're willing to commit murder to cover their tracks. The waitress brought his order. Lucas paid and headed back to the motel, his mind racing. When he entered the room, Iris was sitting on the bed, her laptop open on the nightstand. Where did that come from? Lucas asked. Briefcase. I keep an emergency laptop. Cash, phone, essentials. In case I need to disappear quickly. She looked up at him. Paranoid, I know. But it turns out I wasn't paranoid enough. Lucas set the food down. Eat. She did, mechanically, her attention on the laptop screen. Lucas could see financial spreadsheets, dense columns of numbers. What are you looking at? Transaction records, trying to trace where the leak came from. Iris typed rapidly, her fingers moving with practiced efficiency. Someone's been siphoning money, small amounts, hidden in various accounts. But it adds up, millions over the past 2 years. Can you prove it? Maybe, if I can access the right files. She looked at him. I need to get into my office, the server room. There are records there that aren't backed up to the cloud. That's suicide. They'll be watching for you. I know. That's why I need help. Iris closed the laptop. Not tonight, but soon. I need someone who can move quietly, who knows how to avoid security systems. I told you one night, that's all I agreed to. I know what you said, but I also know you're not the kind of person who walks away from something half-finished. She met his eyes. You pulled me out of that car. You lied to the police. You brought me here. You're already involved, Lucas. The question is whether you're involved enough to see it through. Lucas wanted to argue, wanted to say she was wrong, that he'd done his good deed and it was over. But he'd seen the files, heard the certainty in her voice, and he recognized something in her eyes. The same desperate determination he'd felt years ago when he'd been fighting to survive, to build something better. "I have a son," he said quietly. "He's 7 years old. He's the only thing that matters to me. I won't risk him for anything." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're asking me to go up against people who commit murder to protect their secrets. People with resources and connections, people who won't hesitate to hurt anyone who gets in their way. I'm asking you to help me expose them, not fight them." Iris stood up, moving closer. "I have evidence. I have allies. I just need someone I can trust to help me get to the truth. After that, the law takes over." "You have a lot of faith in the law." "I have faith in leverage. Once I have proof, I can force them out, make them run before they can do more damage." Lucas studied her face. Behind the blood and exhaustion, he saw steel. This wasn't a woman who gave up. This was someone who'd built an empire through sheer force of will. Someone like him, in a different life. "1 week," he said finally. "I'll help you for 1 week. Get your evidence, expose whoever's trying to kill you, and then I'm out, completely." Relief flooded Iris's expression. 1 week, I promise. And the 50,000? The moment this is over. Cash, no records, no questions. Lucas nodded. "Then we start tomorrow. Tonight, you rest. Keep the door locked. Don't answer for anyone but me." "Where are you going?" "Home. I have a son who's going to wake up in a few hours wondering where I am, and I need to come up with a story that doesn't sound insane." Iris smiled slightly. "Good luck with that." Lucas left her there, drove back through the pre-dawn darkness to his small rental house on the edge of town. Mrs. Chen's car was still in his driveway. Inside, he found her asleep on the couch, and Eli curled up in his bed upstairs, a book on dinosaurs lying open beside him. Lucas stood in the doorway, watching his son sleep, and wondered what he'd just gotten them into. 1 week, he told himself. 1 week to help Iris Hale survive, expose her enemies, and get back to normal life. But deep down, Lucas knew the truth. Normal life was already gone. The moment he'd pulled her from that wreck, he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Now all he could do was make sure Eli stayed safe while Lucas dealt with the consequences. He closed Eli's door quietly and headed downstairs to wake Mrs. Chen, already planning the lies he'd need to tell to make this work. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Dawn was coming, pale light creeping over the horizon. Lucas made coffee and waited for morning, knowing that when the sun rose, everything would change. The lies started before breakfast. "Where were you?" Eli asked, standing in his pajamas in the kitchen doorway, backpack already on his shoulders, even though the bus wouldn't come for another hour. Lucas cracked eggs into a pan, keeping his back to his son. "Had some trouble at the station. Electrical issue. Had to stay late to make sure everything was safe. Mrs. Chen said you called at 3 in the morning. That's when the problem happened." Eli was quiet for a moment. Lucas could feel those sharp 7-year-old eyes boring into his back, processing, analyzing. The kid was too smart for his own good. "You look tired," Eli said finally. "I am tired, but I'm making you breakfast anyway, so maybe cut me some slack." Scrambled eggs isn't exactly gourmet. Lucas turned around, spatula in hand. "You want gourmet? You can cook it yourself." Eli grinned, and Lucas felt something ease in his chest. The kid was okay. Still safe, still untouched by the mess Lucas had stumbled into. They ate together in silence, the morning light streaming through the kitchen window. Lucas's phone buzzed twice, texts from Iris he didn't open in front of Eli. He'd check them after the bus came. "Parent-teacher conference is Thursday," Eli said, pushing eggs around his plate. "I know. Mrs. Patterson wants to talk about your social development. That's code for your kid doesn't have friends." Lucas set down his fork. "You have friends. I have kids I sit near at lunch. That's different." "You want more friends?" Eli shrugged, a gesture Lucas recognized as his own. "Not really. Most of them are annoying. They talk about video games I don't play and movies I haven't seen. Maybe if you tried." "I like reading. I like being alone. Is that bad?" Lucas looked at his son and saw himself at that age. Quiet. Watchful. Already learning that the world was safer when you didn't let people get too close. "It's not bad," Lucas said quietly, "but it's lonely." You're alone all the time. I have you. That's different. I'm your kid. You're supposed to have me. Eli met his eyes. Don't you want friends? Lucas thought about the question, about the years he'd spent building walls, keeping everyone at arm's length, trusting no one except Mrs. Chen, and even then, only so far. Sometimes, he admitted. But it's complicated. Everything's complicated with you. The bus horn sounded outside. Eli grabbed his backpack and headed for the door, then stopped and turned back. Dad? Yeah? Whatever's going on, just be careful. Okay? Lucas felt his throat tighten. Nothing's going on. Right. See you after school. The door closed. Lucas watched through the window as Eli climbed onto the bus, found a seat alone near the back, and pulled out a book before the bus even pulled away. His phone buzzed again. This time Lucas looked. 3 texts from Iris. We need to talk. Soon. I've been going through files all night. It's worse than I thought. How soon can you get here? Lucas texted back. 2 hours? Need to sleep first or I'll be useless. Fair enough. I'll be here. He collapsed into bed, still wearing yesterday's clothes, set an alarm for 90 minutes, and fell into a dreamless sleep that felt like drowning. When the alarm dragged him back to consciousness, Lucas felt worse than before. His body ached, his head throbbed, and his mouth tasted like regret. He forced himself into the shower, let scalding water pound some awareness back into his brain, and dressed in clean clothes. The drive to the motel took 40 minutes. Lucas stopped at a gas station, not his own, and bought coffee and donuts, the breakfast of people making terrible decisions. Iris answered his knock immediately, like she'd been waiting by the door. She'd changed clothes somehow, now wearing jeans and a plain black sweater that made her look less like a CEO and more like someone trying not to be noticed. Where'd you get the clothes? Lucas asked, handing her a coffee. Amazon same-day delivery to the motel office, cash on delivery. She took the coffee gratefully. Turns out you can buy anything if you're willing to pay extra and don't care about using your real name. The motel room had transformed overnight. Her laptop sat on the small desk surrounded by papers, a portable printer Lucas hadn't seen before churning out documents. The bed was unmade but looked slept in, at least partially. You get any rest? Lucas asked. A few hours. I kept waking up thinking about the break line, about who had access. Iris gestured to the papers. I've been mapping out every person who could have done it, cross-referencing with financial irregularities, leaked information, suspicious behavior over the past 6 months. Lucas looked at the documents. They were covered in handwritten notes, circles, arrows connecting names and dates. It looked like the work of someone losing their grip on reality, or someone getting dangerously close to the truth. How many suspects? He asked. Started with 12. Now I'm down to 5. Your COO, CFO, and head of security? Plus my executive assistant and the VP of acquisitions. Iris pointed to each name. Marcus Chen, COO. Been with me for 8 years. Brilliant strategist, ambitious as hell. James Portman, CFO. 6 years. Came from a competitor, always seemed grateful for the opportunity. David Reeves, head of security. 4 years. Former FBI. Sarah Lynn, my assistant. 3 years. Knows everything about my schedule, my habits. And Rachel Dorsey, VP of Acquisitions. 5 years. She's been pushing for promotions I haven't given her. That's a lot of people who might want you dead. Or working together. The financial records suggest at least 2 people coordinating the embezzlement. Maybe all 5. Iris rubbed her eyes. I built this company by trusting my instincts about people. Now I don't know if I can trust anyone. Lucas sat down on the edge of the bed, studying the papers. What's the total amount stolen? At least 15 million over 2 years. Possibly more if there are accounts I haven't found yet. Lucas whistled low. That's serious money. It's not just about the money. It's about control. Someone's been systematically undermining my authority, leaking information to competitors, sabotaging deals, making me look incompetent to the board. Why? To force me out. Take over the company. Iris leaned against the desk. Hale Industries is worth $3 billion. Whoever controls it controls an empire, and I'm the only thing standing in their way. So they cut your brake line. Make it look like an accident. I die. The vultures descend, and whoever's been planning this swoops in as the savior who can restore order. Lucas thought about that. What happens if you just disappear? Don't go back? They win. Everything I built falls apart, and the people who tried to kill me get exactly what they want. You could rebuild somewhere else, start over. Iris laughed, but there was no humor in it. You don't understand. I'm not rich because I inherited money or got lucky. I built this from nothing, worked 80-hour weeks for 15 years, sacrificed relationships, health, everything. Hale Industries isn't just my company, it's my life. Is it worth dying for? The question hung in the air between them. Iris was quiet for a long moment. Ask me again when this is over, she said finally. Lucas's phone rang. Danny from the gas station. Hey, boss wants to know if you're coming in tonight, Danny said. Yeah, I'll be there. Why? Police came by again this morning, asking more questions about that crash. Wanted to check the cameras again. Lucas felt tension creep up his spine. What did you tell them? Nothing. I wasn't here when it happened. But they seemed really interested in finding the woman from the car. Said it's a person of interest in an ongoing investigation. Investigation into what? Didn't say. Just told Morrison to call if she shows up. Lucas thanked him and hung up. Iris was watching him with sharp eyes. They're looking for me, she said. Yeah, but they called you a person of interest, not a suspect. That's something. For now. Once my CFO or COO reports me missing, once they find out about the embezzlement, I'll be the prime suspect in my own company's fraud. Can they do that? They can do whatever they want if they control the narrative. And right now, they think I'm dead or running. Either way, I look guilty. Lucas stood up, pacing the small room. Then we need to flip the narrative, get proof of what they've done before they can spin the story. That's what I've been working on all night, but I need access to the company's servers. The paper trail is there, but it's protected by firewalls I can't crack remotely. So we go in person. It's a suicide mission. The building has security cameras, keycard access, guards on every floor. If they're watching for me, then we don't go during the day. We go at night, when there's minimal security. Iris shook her head. The security system doesn't sleep, and I don't have my access card anymore. It was in my car. What about a backup? At my apartment, which is definitely being watched. Lucas thought for a moment. Your assistant, Sarah Lynn. Where does she live? Why? She has access to the building. If we can get her keycard. No, absolutely not. We're not breaking into someone's home. You have a better idea? Iris was quiet. Lucas could see her mind working, running through scenarios, discarding options. There might be another way, she said slowly. The building has a maintenance entrance, used by cleaning crews and repair workers. Less security, but you'd still need credentials. Can you fake them? Maybe. I know the company that handles our building maintenance. I've approved their contracts. Iris pulled up a file on her laptop. Jackson Facilities Management. They use a digital badge system that rotates codes daily. Can you hack it? I'm a CEO, not a hacker. But you know people who can. Iris hesitated. There's someone, a freelance security consultant I used to use for penetration testing, making sure our systems were secure. Can you trust them? I don't know, but we're running out of options. She made a call on a burner phone Lucas hadn't seen before. The conversation was brief, cryptic, ending with Iris giving an address and hanging up. He'll meet us in 2 hours, a coffee shop downtown, public place, lots of witnesses. Smart. I've learned to be paranoid. Turns out it's a survival skill. They left the motel separately, Lucas going first to make sure no one was watching. He drove a circuitous route into the city, checking his mirrors constantly, looking for tales. Old habits, muscle memory from a life he'd tried to forget. The coffee shop was busy, full of students with laptops and freelancers having meetings. Lucas spotted Iris immediately. She'd added a baseball cap and sunglasses, trying for anonymous and almost succeeding. The man sitting across from her was younger than Lucas expected. Mid-20s, wearing a hoodie and headphones, looking like every other tech worker in the city. This is Kevin, Iris said as Lucas sat down. Kevin, this is the friend I mentioned. Kevin didn't offer a handshake. Iris says you need building access. Jackson Facilities credentials. That's right, Lucas said. Why? That's not your concern. Kevin smiled. Actually, it is. Because if I'm breaking into a security system for you, I need to know I'm not helping with something that'll blow back on me. Lucas looked at Iris. She nodded slightly. Someone's trying to kill her, Lucas said. We need to get into her company's servers to prove who's behind it. Why not just go to the police? Because the people trying to kill her probably own the police, or at least enough of them to make it dangerous. Kevin studied them both. Hale Industries. I heard about the crash last night. News said the driver disappeared. The driver's sitting right here, Iris said quietly. And I need your help, Kevin, like the old days. The old days you paid me 50 grand to break into your own systems. This feels different. This is 100 grand. Half now, half when it's done. Kevin's eyebrows went up. 50 right now? Iris reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. Lucas stared at it. That much cash just sitting in her purse. Kevin took the envelope, counted quickly, and nodded. Okay, what exactly do you need? 2 Jackson Facilities badges with active credentials, valid for tonight, and a building schematic showing security camera blind spots. That's not easy. That's why I'm paying you $100,000. Kevin opened his laptop. Give me 4 hours. Where should I send the files? Iris wrote down an email address. Encrypted, password protected. Obviously, Kevin stood up. Iris, whatever you're into, be careful. People who can afford to cut brake lines can afford a lot worse. I know. He left. Lucas and Iris sat in silence for a moment. You're carrying that much cash around? Lucas finally asked. I took it out of my safe deposit box yesterday. Emergency fund. Iris sipped her coffee. Always have an escape plan. That's rule 1. What's rule 2? Never let them see you scared. You're scared now. Terrified, but they don't need to know that. They waited at the coffee shop for another hour, then moved to a library, then to a park. Constantly moving, never staying in one place long enough to establish a pattern. Lucas recognized it as evasion tactics, the kind of thing you learned in the field. You've done this before, Iris said as they walked through the park. Done what? Run. Hide, stayed one step ahead of people looking for you. Lucas didn't answer right away. Long time ago? What were you running from? Does it matter? It does if it's going to get us killed. Lucas stopped walking. They were near a playground where a few kids were climbing on equipment while their parents watched. Normal life. Safe life. I worked private security, he said. Overseas, the kind of contracts nobody talks about. Corporate protection in war zones. Executives who needed bodyguards who could shoot back. How'd you end up at a gas station? I quit, came home, tried to disappear. Then I met Eli's mom. She got pregnant. We had a kid. And for a while I thought maybe I could have a normal life. What happened? She left when Eli was 2, said she couldn't do it anymore. The baby, the responsibility, me, just walked away one day and never came back. Lucas shoved his hands in his pockets. So I've been raising him alone, and the only way to keep him safe was to stay invisible. Work jobs nobody notices. Live quiet. Don't make waves. Until last night. Until last night. Iris was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. You didn't drag me. I jumped. Why? Lucas thought about that. About Eli asking if he wanted friends. About the years of isolation and safety and loneliness. Because I'm tired of being invisible, he said finally, and because you needed help. Sometimes it's that simple. Iris's phone buzzed. She checked it. Kevin's ready. He wants to meet at the same place in an hour. They made their way back to the coffee shop. Kevin was already there, 2 manila envelopes on the table. Badges are programmed for tonight only, he said. After midnight, they're dead. Building schematics are in the other envelope. Camera blind spots marked in red. This is good work, Iris said, checking the contents. It's what you're paying for. The other 50? When we're done, tomorrow morning. Fair enough? Kevin stood to leave, then hesitated. Iris, whatever you're planning, do it fast. I had to break through 3 layers of security to get those badges. Someone's going to notice the intrusion. You've got maybe 12 hours before they figure out what I did. That's all we need. After Kevin left, Lucas and Iris studied the building schematics. Hale Industries occupied 15 floors of a downtown high-rise. The server room was on the 8th floor, behind multiple security doors. The maintenance entrance is here, Iris pointed. Sub-basement level. Usually only one guard stationed there after 10 p.m. We go in as Jackson facilities workers. Say we're here to fix a leak or something. What about cameras? Blind spots here, here, and here. We can move through the building using service corridors, avoid most of the surveillance. Most? There's no way to avoid all of it. We'll be on camera at some point. But if we're fast, we can be in and out before anyone reviews the footage. Lucas studied the layout. What about the server room itself? Biometric lock? Fingerprint scanner? But I can override it with my access code, assuming they haven't deactivated it yet. And if they have, then we're screwed. Lucas checked his watch. 7 p.m. I need to call Eli, make sure he's okay. He stepped outside and dialed home. Eli answered on the second ring. Hey, Dad. Hey, buddy. You good? Mrs. Chen made pot roast. I'm fine. Listen, I have to work another late shift tonight. You okay staying with her again? There was a pause. Dad, what's going on? Nothing, just covering for someone who's sick. You're lying. Lucas felt his chest tighten. Eli, you're using your lying voice, the one you use when you're trying to protect me from something. Another pause. Are we in trouble? No, I promise. Everything's fine. Then why do you sound scared? Because I am, Lucas thought. Because I'm about to break into a corporate building to help a woman I barely know. And if we get caught, I could go to jail and you could end up in foster care. I'm just tired, Lucas said. I'll see you tomorrow morning, before school, okay? Okay. Dad? Yeah? I love you. Lucas closed his eyes. I love you too, kid. More than anything. He hung up and stood there for a moment, letting the weight of it settle. Then he went back inside where Iris was waiting. We should go, she said. Get there around 11. That's when the shift change happens. Best time to slip in. They drove separately to a parking garage 3 blocks from the building. Lucas wore the maintenance uniform Kevin had provided, navy blue coveralls with the Jackson Facilities patch. Iris wore the same, her hair tucked under a cap. Ready? She asked. No, but let's do it anyway. They walked to the building through back streets, avoiding main roads. The maintenance entrance was exactly where the schematic showed, a plain metal door with a card reader. Iris swiped the badge Kevin had made. The light turned green. The door clicked open. Inside was a concrete corridor, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Lucas could hear the building's HVAC system, a constant low rumble. This way, Iris whispered, leading him toward a service elevator. The ride to the 8th floor felt eternal. Lucas kept his hand near the tools on his belt, ready to look busy if anyone stopped them. The elevator dinged. The doors opened onto another corridor, this one carpeted, more upscale. They were in the main building now, past the service areas. Blind spot ahead, Iris said, checking her phone where she'd loaded the schematics. We need to move fast. They half walked, half ran down the corridor, past darkened offices with glass walls showing empty cubicles and conference rooms. Lucas felt exposed, vulnerable. Anyone could see them. Here. Iris stopped at a door marked Server Room. Authorized personnel only. She pressed her thumb to the biometric scanner. Nothing happened. Come on, she muttered, trying again. Still nothing. They deactivated it, Lucas said. No, wait. Iris pulled out her phone, typed something. I'm using a backup protocol. Give it a second. The scanner beeped. The light turned green. The door opened. Inside, the server room was cold, air conditioning working overtime to keep the equipment cool. Rows of black metal servers lined the walls, their lights blinking in patterns that looked almost alive. This is it, Iris said, moving to a terminal. All the financial records, everything they've been hiding. She logged in, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Lucas stood watch at the door, eyes on the corridor outside. How long? He asked. 5 minutes? Maybe 10. I need to download everything to a secure drive. Lucas checked his watch. 11:47 p.m. They'd been in the building 12 minutes. Iris, we need to hurry. I know. I'm going as fast as I can. A sound in the corridor. Footsteps. Lucas moved away from the door. Someone's coming. I'm not done. We need to go. Now. Just another minute. The footsteps got louder. Lucas could see a shadow on the wall, someone approaching. Iris. Almost there. The shadow reached the door. Lucas tensed, ready to... A security guard walked past without looking in. False alarm. Lucas let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Got it, Iris said, pulling a USB drive from the terminal. Everything's here. Transaction records, emails, meeting transcripts, proof of who's been stealing from me. Then let's get out of here before our luck runs out. They reversed their route, back to the service elevator, down to the sub-basement, out through the maintenance entrance. Lucas didn't relax until they were 3 blocks away, back in the parking garage. We did it, Iris said, holding up the USB drive. We actually did it. Now what? Now we figure out who's trying to kill me, and we make sure they can't do it again. Lucas thought about Eli, asleep at home, about the lies he'd told and the risks he'd taken. 1 week, he said. That was the deal. 1 week, Iris agreed. I'll make it count. They drove back to the motel separately. When Lucas pulled in, he saw Iris's rental car already parked. Inside the room, she had her laptop open, the USB drive plugged in, files filling the screen. Look at this, she said, her voice tight with fury. They've been planning this for over a year, setting up shell corporations, routing money through offshore accounts, building a case against me for embezzlement while they're the ones stealing. Lucas looked over her shoulder. The files were damning, clear evidence of fraud. Who? He asked. Iris pulled up an email chain. Marcus Chen, my COO, and James Portman, my CFO, working together, planning to force me out and take over the company. What about the head of security? He's in on it too, helped them access my car, gave them the codes to bypass my security system. She scrolled through more files. They were waiting for the perfect moment. The failed merger was it. Make me look incompetent, then kill me and blame it on stress or depression or whatever story they'd spin. You have enough to take them down? More than enough. This is evidence of fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. Iris looked up at him. But I can't just hand this to the police. They have lawyers, connections. They'll tie this up in court for years. What's the alternative? I confront them, directly. Force them to resign. Threaten them with this evidence if they refuse. Lucas shook his head. That's dangerous. They already tried to kill you once. Which is why I need you there, as insurance. I'm not a bodyguard anymore. No, but you're someone they don't know about, someone they won't expect. Iris met his eyes. Please, Lucas, I can't do this alone. He wanted to say no, wanted to walk away, go home to Eli, pretend none of this had ever happened. But he thought about the fear in Iris's voice when she'd begged him to help, about the determination in her eyes as she'd worked through the night to find the truth, about the fact that she reminded him of himself years ago, fighting to survive against impossible odds. One confrontation, he said. Then this is done. One confrontation, I promise. Lucas nodded, knowing even as he agreed that promises like that rarely held. But he'd made his choice. Now he just had to see it through. Morning came too fast and brought complications Lucas hadn't anticipated. He was at home making Eli breakfast when his phone rang. Morrison, his boss at the gas station, sounded agitated. Lucas, you seen the news? No. Why? That woman from the crash, Iris Hale. They're saying she's wanted for questioning in a corporate fraud investigation. FBI's involved now. They came by the station an hour ago asking if I'd seen her. Lucas felt his stomach drop. What did you tell them? Same thing I told the local cops. That you responded to the crash and found nobody. But Lucas, if you know something, I don't know anything. I told you what I saw. Right, okay. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Stay safe, man. Lucas hung up and immediately checked the news on his phone. The headlines were brutal. Billionaire CEO missing after suspicious crash. Hale Industries under investigation for fraud. FBI seeks Iris Hale for questioning an embezzlement scheme. They'd flipped the narrative. Somehow, Marcus Chen and James Portman had gotten ahead of the story, made Iris look like the criminal instead of the victim. Dad? Eli stood in the doorway, backpack on. You okay? Lucas forced himself to smile. Yeah, buddy, just work stuff. You look worried. I'm fine. You ready for school? Eli studied him with those two perceptive eyes. Whatever's happening, you can tell me. I'm not a baby. I know you're not. But some things are grown-up problems, and I need you to trust me to handle them. Do you trust yourself to handle them? The question hit harder than it should have. Lucas knelt down to Eli's level. Honestly, I don't know, but I'm trying my best. Eli hugged him suddenly, fiercely. Don't do anything stupid. When have I ever done anything stupid? You want a list? Lucas laughed despite everything. Get on the bus, smartass. After Eli left, Lucas drove to the motel. He found Iris pacing the room, her laptop showing the same news articles he'd just seen. They're making me the villain, she said without preamble. Marcus must have gone to the FBI yesterday. Showed them doctored records making it look like I was the one embezzling. Can we prove otherwise? With the files we got last night, yes. But who's going to believe me now? I'm a fugitive CEO. They're trusted executives expressing concern about their boss's behavior. Lucas sat down on the bed. So we take the evidence public, give it to journalists, let them investigate. By the time that investigation finishes, I'll be in jail or dead. Marcus won't wait around for reporters to figure out the truth. Then what's the play? Iris stopped pacing. We go to the board. Today. Emergency meeting. Present the evidence directly to them before the FBI can arrest me. That's insane. If Marcus and James are at that meeting, they will be. That's the point. I confront them in front of witnesses who matter. Force them to either confess or expose themselves trying to deny it. Or they kill you. In a room full of board members. They won't risk it. Too many witnesses. Too public. Iris met his eyes. This is the only way, Lucas. If I run, I look guilty. If I hide, they win. I have to face them. Lucas thought about all the ways this could go wrong. About Eli waiting for him to come home. About the promise he'd made to stay invisible, stay safe. When's the meeting? He asked. I can call an emergency session for this afternoon. 2 p.m. board members are required to attend within 4 hours of notification. That doesn't give us much time to prepare. I know, but the longer we wait, the more they solidify their story. Iris pulled out her phone. I need to make some calls. Reach out to board members I think I can trust. Make sure they show up. How many board members are there? 9 total. 3 are definitely in my corner. 2 are probably compromised by Marcus. The other 4 could go either way. Great odds. I've won with worse. While Iris made calls, Lucas ran through scenarios in his head. The board meeting would be at Hale Industries headquarters, the same building they'd broken into last night. Security would be tighter now, especially with FBI involvement. We need a different approach, he said when Iris finished her calls. You can't just walk into that building. They'll arrest you on sight. I'm still CEO. I have every right to attend a board meeting. You're also wanted for questioning by the FBI. Rights don't matter much when there's a warrant. Iris sat down, her confidence wavering for the first time. Then how do I get in? Lucas thought about it. About his years doing private security, the techniques he'd learned for moving through hostile territory. We use their assumptions against them, he said slowly. They think you're running, hiding. The last thing they'll expect is for you to show up looking like you never left. I don't understand. You don't sneak in. You walk through the front door like you own the place, because you do. They'll recognize me. Not if you look like you're supposed to be there. Confident, powerful. The Iris Hale who built an empire, not the fugitive CEO they're expecting. Iris considered this. I'd need different clothes, professional, my usual style. Can you get them without using credit cards? There's a boutique downtown, high-end. I know the owner. She'll let me pay cash. Then that's step 1. You look the part. You act the part. Security sees what they expect to see. What about you? I'll already be inside, different entrance. I'll position myself near the boardroom before you arrive. How? Lucas smiled without humor. I still have the maintenance badge from last night. As far as their system knows, I'm just another facilities worker. They spent the next 2 hours preparing. Iris went shopping while Lucas studied the building layout again, planning routes and backup plans. When she returned, she'd transformed. Black suit, perfectly tailored, hair styled, makeup subtle but effective. She looked every inch the billionaire CEO. Better? She asked. You look terrifying. Good. That's what I'm going for. At 1 p.m., Lucas drove to the Hale Industries building and parked 3 blocks away. He wore the same maintenance coveralls from last night, carrying a toolbox he'd bought at a hardware store. The maintenance entrance let him in without issue. He took the service elevator to the 14th floor, one level below where the boardroom was located. According to the building directory, there were mechanical rooms on 14 that facilities workers accessed regularly. Lucas found an empty mechanical room and waited. On his phone, he'd pulled up the building's security camera feeds using a back door Kevin had shown him. He could see the lobby, the elevators, the corridor outside the boardroom. At 1:47 p.m., board members started arriving. Lucas recognized some of them from photos Iris had shown him. Older men and women in expensive suits, looking serious and concerned. At 1:53, Marcus Chen arrived with James Portman. They looked calm, confident. Marcus was in his 40s, tall and athletic with perfect hair. James was older, gray at the temples, wearing glasses that made him look scholarly. They didn't look like men who'd tried to commit murder. They looked like concerned executives dealing with a crisis. At 1:58, David Reeves, the head of security, positioned himself outside the boardroom. Lucas watched him on camera, noting the way he scanned the corridor, the slight bulge under his jacket that suggested a weapon. At 1:59, Lucas texted Iris. "They're all here. You ready?" "On my way up." Lucas left the mechanical room and took the stairs to 15. He emerged in a service corridor 30 feet from the boardroom. Through the camera feed on his phone, he watched Iris step out of the main elevator. She moved like she owned the building, head high, shoulders back, every step deliberate. A few employees in the corridor stopped and stared. Someone whispered urgently into a phone. David Reeves saw her approaching. His hand moved toward his jacket. "David," Iris said, her voice carrying down the corridor, "step aside." "Ms. Hale, I can't let you—" "I'm calling an emergency board meeting. That's within my rights as CEO. Unless you're planning to physically prevent me from entering?" Other people were gathering now, watching, phones coming out to record. David hesitated. Lucas could see him calculating, weighing options. Finally, he stepped aside. "Thank you," Iris said, and walked past him into the boardroom. Lucas moved quickly, leaving the service corridor and entering the main hallway. He positioned himself near a water fountain where he could see the boardroom entrance but didn't look out of place. Through the open door, he could hear voices rising. "What the hell is this?" Marcus Chen's voice, angry and controlled. "Iris, the FBI is looking for you. You need to—" "Sit down, Marcus." Iris's voice cut through his. "All of you, sit down. We need to talk." Lucas edged closer. He could see into the room now. 9 board members seated around a massive table. Marcus and James at one end. Iris standing at the other, a USB drive in her hand. "I know what you've been doing," Iris said. "The embezzlement, the sabotage, the attempt on my life. All of it." "That's absurd," James said, but his voice wasn't quite steady. "Iris, you're clearly under a lot of stress. The crash, the investigation, the crash where someone cut my brake line. That stress?" Murmurs around the table. Board members exchanging glances. Marcus stood up. "These are serious accusations. Do you have any proof?" Iris held up the USB drive. "Everything. Transaction records, emails, meeting transcripts, evidence of you and James systematically stealing from this company for 2 years, evidence of you leaking proprietary information to competitors, evidence of you planning my murder." "That's ridiculous," Marcus said, but Lucas saw sweat on his forehead now. "You can't just—" "I can. And I will." Iris plugged the USB drive into the presentation system. "Let me show you exactly what your COO and CFO have been doing." Files appeared on the screen. Bank statements, email chains, Shell Corporation filings. Lucas watched the board members' faces as they processed what they were seeing. One of the older members, a woman Iris had identified as Margaret Ashworth, spoke up. "These appear to be offshore accounts, routing money from Hale Industries subsidiaries." "Exactly," Iris said. $15 million over 2 years, hidden in accounts controlled by Marcus Chen and James Portman. James was on his feet now. "This is fabricated. She's desperate, trying to deflect from her own crimes." "My crimes?" Iris's laugh was sharp. "The FBI came to you, didn't they? You fed them a story about me embezzling, showed them doctored records, hoped they'd arrest me before I could expose the truth." The truth is that you've been unstable for months, Marcus said, his voice hardening. Erratic decisions, paranoid behavior. We've all seen it. Have you? Iris turned to the other board members. Because I've been tracking every move, every decision, every deal. And the only instability I've found is a conspiracy to destroy this company from within. Another board member, a man named Richard Cross, cleared his throat. Iris, these are serious charges, but we need to verify this. Iris pulled up another file. An email chain between Marcus and James dated 3 weeks ago. Marcus's email read, "The merger fell through. Time to accelerate the plan. She's vulnerable now." James's response, "Agreed. The accident needs to look natural. I'll handle the logistics." The room went silent. "You're talking about killing me," Iris said quietly. "Planning it like a business transaction." Marcus's face had gone white. "That's taken out of context. What context makes planning someone's death acceptable?" "This is absurd," James sputtered. "We were discussing employee reductions, downsizing. The language was metaphorical." "Really? Then explain this." Iris pulled up a bank transfer. $50,000 paid to an automotive specialist 3 days before my crash, the same day my car was serviced, the same car whose brake line was professionally cut. Margaret Ashworth stood up. "I think we need to contact authorities immediately." "No," Marcus said sharply. "This is an internal matter." "This is attempted murder," Margaret shot back, "and fraud and conspiracy. This stopped being internal the moment you tried to kill our CEO. David Reeves appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Hale, I need you to come with me." "I'm in the middle of a board meeting, David. FBI's on their way. They've issued a warrant for your arrest." "On what charges?" "Embezzlement, fraud, obstruction of justice." Iris looked at Marcus and James. "You called them." "We called them the moment you walked in," Marcus said. "You're not the CEO anymore, Iris. The board is removing you, effective immediately." "You can't do that without a vote." "We took a vote yesterday. Emergency session. You were deemed unfit to lead due to mental instability and criminal behavior." "That vote is invalid. I wasn't present. I wasn't even notified." "You were missing. Fled the scene of an accident. We had every right to act in the company's best interest." Lucas saw Iris's hands clench. She was losing control of the situation. "The evidence," she started, "can be examined later," Marcus said smoothly. "Right now you need to cooperate with law enforcement. If you're innocent, you have nothing to fear, except being arrested based on falsified charges you manufactured. David, please escort Ms. Hale out." David moved toward Iris. Lucas stepped into the doorway. "I wouldn't do that," Lucas said. Everyone turned to look at him. Lucas felt the weight of their stares. All these powerful people suddenly focused on the maintenance worker in coveralls. "Who are you?" Marcus demanded. "Someone who saw the brake line, photographed it, sent those photos to a journalist friend who's very interested in this story." He was lying, but Marcus didn't know that. "You're bluffing," Marcus said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "Am I? Want to test that theory? Because I'm pretty sure Billionaire CEO survives assassination attempt is a better headline than CEO arrested for fraud, especially when there's photo evidence of a professionally cut brake line." Margaret Ashworth looked between Lucas and Iris. "Who is this man?" "Witness to the crash," Iris said. "The one who pulled me from the wreckage. The one who can testify that my brake line was sabotaged." "Convenient," James muttered. "What's convenient is you calling the FBI the moment Iris presents evidence of your crimes," Lucas shot back. "That's called consciousness of guilt." Sirens in the distance, getting louder. "They're here," David said. "Ms. Hale, you need to decide. Come quietly or make this harder than it needs to be." Iris looked at the board members, at the evidence on the screen, at Lucas standing in the doorway. "I'm not running," she said. "I'm innocent, and I'm going to prove it." "Then you'll do it from a jail cell," Marcus said. FBI agents appeared in the corridor behind Lucas. 3 of them, badges out, faces professional and detached. "Iris Hale," the lead agent said. "That's me?" "You're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent." "I understand my rights, but before you take me in, you should know that the evidence of my guilt was fabricated by Marcus Chen and James Portman. The real embezzlers. The men who tried to kill me. The agent looked skeptical. Ma'am, you can explain all that to the investigators. Right now, I need you to come with us. Iris held out her wrists. They handcuffed her gently, professionally. Lucas watched, feeling helpless and furious. What about them? He asked, pointing at Marcus and James. Aren't you going to question them? We'll be conducting a full investigation, the agent said. If evidence supports charges against anyone else, we'll act accordingly. That evidence is right there. Lucas gestured at the screen. Bank records, emails, proof of conspiracy. We'll examine it, but our immediate priority is securing Ms. Hale. They let her out. Iris caught Lucas's eye as they passed. Take care of yourself, she said quietly. Then she was gone, surrounded by FBI agents, disappearing into the elevator. The boardroom erupted in conversation. Lucas stood there, feeling like he'd failed somehow. They'd had the evidence. They'd confronted the conspirators, but Marcus and James were still free, still in control. Margaret Ashworth approached him. You said you photographed the brake line. Yes. I'd like to see those photos. And I'd like a full statement about what you witnessed. Why? Because regardless of what the FBI believes, I'm not convinced Iris is guilty. And I want the truth. She handed him a business card. Call me. Tomorrow. We'll talk. Lucas took the card. What about them? He nodded toward Marcus and James, who were huddled together, talking in low voices. They're suspended pending investigation, effective immediately. I'm calling another board vote, a legitimate one this time. You think the others will support you? After what they just saw? I think enough of them have doubts now. Margaret's eyes were hard. I don't like being manipulated, and I don't like attempted murder. Someone's going to pay for this. Lucas left the building, his mind racing. Iris was in FBI custody. The evidence was in the hands of people who might or might not believe it. Marcus and James were suspended but not arrested. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. He drove back to the motel, knowing he needed to think, to plan. But when he pulled into the parking lot, he saw someone waiting by his truck. A woman in her 30s, professional clothes, holding a tablet. Lucas Reed? She asked as he approached. Who's asking? Sarah Lynn. I was Iris's executive assistant. She looked nervous, glancing around like she expected someone to appear. I need to talk to you. It's important. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the one who's been tracking Marcus and James for Iris, documenting their meetings, recording their conversations. I have evidence she doesn't. Lucas studied her. She looked scared but determined. Okay, he said. Talk. Not here. Somewhere private. I think they know I've been helping her. I think I'm next on their list. Lucas felt the situation spiraling. More complications. More danger. More people who needed protecting. But if Sarah had evidence, real evidence, that could free Iris... Get in the truck, he said. Sarah climbed in quickly. Lucas drove, taking random turns, checking mirrors, making sure they weren't followed. Where are we going? Sarah asked. Somewhere they won't look. You said you have evidence? Recordings, financial documents, proof that Marcus and James have been planning this for 18 months. Not just the embezzlement, the whole takeover. They recruited David Reeves, bribed board members, even arranged for the failed merger that was supposed to make Iris look incompetent. Why didn't you tell anyone before? I tried, but who would believe an assistant over the COO and CFO? I needed proof, something undeniable. So I started collecting it. And now? Now I think they know. David Reeves came to my apartment this morning, asked questions about my relationship with Iris, whether I'd heard from her after the crash. I lied, but I don't think he believed me. Lucas pulled into a different motel parking lot, this one on the opposite side of town. Give me your phone. What? Your phone. If they're tracking you, it's through your phone. Sarah hesitated, then handed it over. Lucas powered it down and removed the battery. We're going dark. No phones, no credit cards. Cash only. He looked at her. You sure you want to do this? Once we start, there's no going back. Iris saved my career. Gave me opportunities I never would have had. I'm not letting them destroy her. Then we need to move fast. Iris is in FBI custody. They'll interrogate her, pressure her, try to make her confess to crimes she didn't commit. What do we do? Lucas thought about it. About Eli at home, waiting. About the promises he'd made. about the fact that he was in too deep now to walk away. We get the evidence to someone who can use it, someone the FBI will listen to. Who? I know someone. Former federal prosecutor, retired now, but she still has connections. If we can convince her this is real, she can push it up the chain. You trust her? As much as I trust anyone. Sarah nodded. Then let's do it. Lucas got them a room at the new motel. Inside, Sarah showed him her files. Hours of recordings. Marcus and James discussing their plans. David Reeves confirming the brake line had been cut to specification. Board members being offered bribes to vote against Iris. It was damning, overwhelming, exactly what they needed. This is good, Lucas said. This is really good. Will it be enough? It has to be. Lucas's phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. He answered cautiously. Mr. Reed? A woman's voice, professional and cold. This is Special Agent Morrison with the FBI. I need to ask you some questions about Iris Hale. Lucas's mouth went dry. I already gave a statement to the local police. I'm aware, but we have new information suggesting you may have had contact with Ms. Hale after the accident. Helping a fugitive is a federal crime, Mr. Reed. I'd hate to see you caught up in this unnecessarily. I don't know what you're talking about. Then you won't mind coming in for a formal interview, say tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.? It wasn't a request. I'll be there, Lucas said. Excellent. And Mr. Reed, don't leave town. That would look very bad for you. She hung up. Sarah was watching him. They know you helped her. Yeah, they know. What are you going to do? Lucas looked at the evidence spread across the bed, at Sarah's frightened face, at the phone in his hand and the implications of that call. He thought about Eli, about the quiet life that was already shattered, about the choice between safety and doing what was right. I'm going to finish this, he said. One way or another. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Lucas watched it through the motel window and wondered if he'd ever see another sunset as a free man. But Iris was in a cell somewhere, arrested for crimes she didn't commit, and he was the only one who could prove her innocence. The only question was whether he could do it before the FBI arrested him too. Lucas didn't sleep that night. He sat in the motel room while Sarah dozed fitfully in the chair, and he went through every file, every recording, every piece of evidence she'd collected. By dawn, he'd mapped out the entire conspiracy in his head. It was elegant in its brutality. Marcus and James hadn't just stolen money, they'd systematically dismantled Iris's credibility, positioned themselves as saviors, and arranged her death to look like a tragic accident. When that failed, they'd pivoted to legal destruction instead. His phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Mrs. Chen. Lucas, Eli's asking about you. He knows something's wrong. Tell him I'll be home today, after I handle some things. What things? I can't explain right now, but Mrs. Chen, if anything happens to me, there's an envelope in my nightstand. It has instructions for Eli, who to call, where money's hidden, everything he'd need. Silence on the other end. Then, Lucas, what have you gotten yourself into? Something I can't walk away from. I'm sorry. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to your son when you see him. She hung up. Lucas stared at the phone, feeling the weight of every choice he'd made since pulling Iris from that wreck. Sarah woke up, disoriented. What time is it? 6:30. We need to move. Where? To see someone who can help, but first I need to make a call. Lucas had kept the business card Margaret Ashworth gave him. He dialed the number. She answered on the second ring, sounding wide awake. This is Margaret. It's Lucas Reed. We talked yesterday, at the board meeting. I remember. Do you have those photos? I have something better. Recordings. Financial documents. Proof that Marcus Chen and James Portman have been running a conspiracy for over a year. But I need your help getting it to the right people. What kind of help? The FBI thinks Iris is guilty. They won't listen to me. But they might listen to you. You're on the board. You have credibility. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Where are you? Lucas gave her the motel address. Can you come alone? You don't trust easily, do you? Not anymore. Smart. I'll be there in an hour. Lucas woke Sarah fully, and they organized the evidence into something presentable. USB drives with audio files. printed spreadsheets showing the money trail, a timeline of events Sarah had constructed showing how each piece fit together. When Margaret arrived, she came in a town car with a driver who stayed outside. She looked at the motel room, at Lucas and Sarah, and something in her expression softened. "You're afraid," she said. "Wouldn't you be?" "Yes, which is why I came prepared." Margaret set a briefcase on the bed and opened it. Inside were documents, official-looking and dense with legal language. "I've been doing my own investigation since yesterday. These are preliminary findings from our internal audit. They support what you're claiming." Sarah leaned forward. "You believe us?" "I believe something criminal happened. Whether it's Iris or Marcus and James, I intend to find out." Margaret looked at Lucas. "Show me what you have." They spent the next 2 hours going through everything. Margaret asked sharp questions, tested their timeline, poked holes in their assumptions. But when they played the recordings, her expression changed. Marcus's voice, captured by Sarah's hidden phone during a meeting. "The brake specialist confirmed it'll look like mechanical failure. No way to trace it back to us." James responding, "And if she survives?" "She won't. I paid him enough to make sure it's thorough." Margaret's face went pale. "When was this recorded?" 2 days before the crash," Sarah said. "That's conspiracy to commit murder, federal crime." "Will the FBI listen?" "They'll have to. This is evidence of a felony." Margaret pulled out her phone. "I know someone at the Bureau, Deputy Director. We went to law school together. He'll take my call." "What about Iris?" Lucas asked. "She's in custody right now, probably being pressured to confess. I'll make sure he knows she's potentially innocent, that there are other suspects." Margaret started dialing. "But Lucas, you need to understand something. The FBI doesn't like being wrong. When they arrest someone, they build a case. Admitting they arrested the wrong person is politically difficult. So they might ignore the evidence? They might be very careful about how they proceed, which means this could take time. We don't have time. Marcus and James know we're coming for them. They'll destroy evidence, disappear, or worse." Margaret nodded slowly. "Then we need to force their hand, make them do something that exposes them publicly." "How?" "I'm calling an official board meeting. Today, noon, mandatory attendance for all executives, including Marcus and James. I'll present the evidence there, with lawyers present, media outside. Make it impossible for them to run." Sarah looked worried. "If they know what's coming, they might not show up." "They'll show up, because if they don't, it looks like an admission of guilt. Their whole strategy has been about maintaining the appearance of legitimacy. They won't abandon that unless they're cornered." Lucas thought about it. "And when you present the evidence, they'll deny everything, say it's fabricated." "Probably. But the board will vote to suspend them pending investigation. That strips their access to company resources, freezes their assets, makes it harder to run. It also makes them desperate." "Yes." Margaret met his eyes. "Which is why you need to be very careful. Desperate people do dangerous things." She made her call. Lucas listened to her side of the conversation, hearing the careful language she used to convince her FBI contact that new evidence warranted immediate attention. When she hung up, she looked tired. "He's sending agents to review what we have, but he warned me that unless it's absolutely bulletproof, they won't drop the charges against Iris. She's already been arraigned. The case is in motion." "When will they get here?" 2 hours. Maybe 3. Lucas checked his watch. 8:45. His FBI interview was at 9. "I have to go," he said. "Where?" "Federal building. They called me in for questioning." Margaret frowned. "About what?" "Helping Iris after the crash. They think I'm an accomplice." "Don't go. You'll incriminate yourself." "If I don't go, it looks like I'm running. Makes everything we're doing seem like a cover-up." Lucas grabbed his jacket. "Besides, maybe I can buy us some time. Keep them focused on me instead of building their case against Iris." "That's a terrible idea." "You have a better one?" Margaret didn't answer. Lucas turned to Sarah. "Stay here. Don't open the door for anyone except Margaret or me. If something goes wrong, take the evidence and run. Get it to a journalist, someone who'll publish it regardless of what the FBI says." "Lucas, promise me." Sarah nodded reluctantly. "I promise." Lucas drove to the federal building in downtown, his hands steady on the wheel despite the fear churning in his gut. He parked in a public lot and walked the last 3 blocks, giving himself time to think. The building was concrete and glass, imposing in its bureaucratic severity. Inside, he gave his name to security and was directed to the third floor. Special Agent Morrison was waiting in a conference room. She was younger than Lucas expected, maybe early 40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Reed, thank you for coming in. Did I have a choice?" "Everyone has choices. Some are just better than others." She gestured to a chair. "Please sit." Lucas sat. The room was deliberately bland. No windows. Recording equipment visible on the table. "This interview is being recorded," Morrison said. "You have the right to have an attorney present." "Am I under arrest?" "Not at this time, but depending on your answers, that could change." "Then let's get this over with." Morrison opened a file folder. "You responded to a car accident on Highway 68 3 nights ago. Is that correct?" "Yes." "And you found Iris Hale at the scene?" Lucas hesitated. This was the moment. He could lie, protect himself, maybe buy more time, or he could tell the truth and hope it mattered. "I found someone in the car. She told me her name was Iris Hale." "Told you? You didn't recognize her?" "I don't follow business news. I had no idea who she was until later." "What happened after you found her?" "She was hurt, bleeding. I tried to help her." "And then?" "She was gone when the police arrived. I assumed she wandered off in shock." Morrison leaned back. "That's your official statement to local police. But we have reason to believe you had contact with Ms. Hale after the accident, that you helped her evade authorities." "What reason?" "Security footage from a motel 20 miles from the crash site shows someone matching your description checking in around 3 a.m. that night, paying cash for a room." Lucas kept his expression neutral. "I stop at motels sometimes, long shifts. I get tired. This particular motel happens to be where we believe Ms. Hale was hiding. Interesting coincidence." "The world's full of coincidences." Morrison pulled out another document. "We also have records of a large cash withdrawal from Ms. Hale's personal account 2 days before the crash. $50,000. Around the same amount you deposited into your bank account yesterday." Lucas felt ice in his chest. He hadn't deposited anything, which meant someone was setting him up. "I didn't deposit any money yesterday." "According to your bank, you did. Teller even noted it was unusual. Large cash deposit, $50 bills." "Then someone's lying or your information is wrong. I haven't been to my bank in 2 weeks." Morrison studied him. "Are you saying someone's framing you?" "I'm saying I didn't deposit any money. Check the surveillance footage from the bank. You'll see it wasn't me." She made a note. "We will. But Mr. Reed, this doesn't look good for you. A woman you claim not to know withdraws $50,000 in cash. You check into a motel near where we believe she was hiding. Money appears in your account. The logical conclusion is that she paid you to help her." "The logical conclusion is wrong." "Then help me understand. What really happened that night?" Lucas thought about Eli, about the promises he'd made to stay invisible, stay safe, about how comprehensively he'd failed at both. "I pulled a woman from a wrecked car. She was scared, said someone tried to kill her, asked for help. I made a choice to believe her instead of calling it in immediately. Maybe that was wrong, but it wasn't criminal. Aiding a fugitive is a federal crime. She wasn't a fugitive then. You arrested her yesterday. Everything I did was before there were any charges." Morrison leaned forward. "Do you know where Iris Hale is now?" "I assume in your custody." "Do you know who else might have helped her?" Lucas thought about Sarah, hiding in the motel with the evidence that could bring down Marcus and James. If he gave Morrison her name, it might take pressure off him. But it would also expose Sarah to danger. "No," he said. "You're lying. Prove it." They stared at each other across the table. Morrison's expression didn't change, but Lucas saw something shift in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or calculation. "Let me tell you what I think happened," Morrison said. "I think Iris Hale has been embezzling from her company for years. I think when she realized we were closing in, she staged the accident to look like an assassination attempt, made herself look like the victim instead of the criminal. And I think she paid you to support her story. Maybe you needed the money. Single father, working a dead-end job. $50,000 goes a long way." "That's a creative theory. You have any proof?" "We're building it. Financial records, witness statements, physical evidence. By the end of the week, we'll have everything we need to convict her, and anyone who helped her. What if she's innocent? Then she should have cooperated instead of running. She didn't run. She tried to expose the people actually responsible, and you arrested her for it. Morrison's eyes narrowed. What people? Lucas realized his mistake. He'd said too much, revealed that he knew more than he was admitting. I'm done talking, he said. If you're going to arrest me, do it. Otherwise, I'm leaving. Morrison stood up. You're free to go, for now. But Mr. Reed, don't leave town, and don't do anything stupid. This investigation is bigger than you realize. People who get in the way tend to get hurt. It sounded like a threat, or a warning. Lucas couldn't tell which. He left the federal building and walked to his truck, checking constantly for tails. His phone rang before he reached the parking lot. Margaret Ashworth. The FBI agents just arrived, she said. They're reviewing the evidence now. But Lucas, we have a problem. What problem? Marcus and James didn't show up to the board meeting, and their lawyers are claiming the recordings were obtained illegally, without consent, which might make them inadmissible as evidence. Lucas swore under his breath. Were they obtained illegally? Sarah recorded conversations she was part of. In some states, that's legal. In others, it's not. The lawyers are exploiting the ambiguity. So what does that mean? It means we might not be able to use them to prosecute, at least not criminally. Margaret paused. But we can still use them in civil court, board proceedings. We can force them out of the company even if they don't go to jail. That's not enough. They tried to kill Iris. I know, but right now it's all we have. Lucas got in his truck and drove. He didn't have a destination in mind, just needed to move, to think. His phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. Yeah? Lucas Reed? A man's voice, smooth and confident. Marcus Chen. Every muscle in Lucas's body tensed. What do you want? To talk, face to face. I think we can help each other. I doubt that. You're in trouble with the FBI. I can make that go away. All of it. The investigation, the suspicion, even the money they think appeared in your account. How? I have connections, resources. I can make you disappear from their radar completely. Marcus's voice was calm, reasonable. All you have to do is walk away. Stop helping Iris. Let justice take its course. Justice? You tried to kill her. Did I? Or is that what she told you? Think about it, Lucas. You don't know this woman. You don't know what she's capable of. But you're willing to risk everything for her. Your freedom, your son's future. Why? Lucas felt the words like a punch. Don't talk about my son. I'm not threatening him. I'm reminding you what's at stake. Eli's 7 years old. He needs his father. What happens to him if you go to prison? I'm not going to prison. The FBI seems to think otherwise. They have evidence linking you to Iris. They think you're an accomplice. And once they dig deeper, once they find out about your past, about the things you did overseas, Marcus let that hang. It won't look good, Lucas. But I can make it all disappear. $50,000. Clean, untraceable. No strings except one. You walk away. Lucas pulled over to the side of the road. You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you a way out. Take it. Go back to your quiet life. Raise your son. Forget any of this happened. And Iris gets what she deserves. Justice for the crimes she committed. She didn't commit any crimes. You did. Marcus sighed. You really believe that, don't you? She's got you completely fooled. That's always been her talent, making people believe in her. Loyalty, trust. She weaponizes it, uses people until they're no longer useful, then discards them. Sounds like projection. It's pattern recognition. I've worked with Iris for 8 years. I know who she really is. You've known her for 3 days. Long enough to see you tried to kill her. I didn't try to kill anyone. Her brake line failed. Tragic. But mechanical failures happen. The investigation will show that. The investigation will show it was professionally cut. Will it? Or will it show that Iris, desperate to avoid prosecution, staged an accident to gain sympathy? To create a narrative of persecution? Marcus's voice hardened slightly. You're smart, Lucas. Smart enough to see this is a losing battle. Take the money. Walk away. Live your life. Lucas thought about Eli. About Mrs. Chen's warning. About the envelope in his nightstand with instructions for what to do if he didn't come home. No, he said. No, I'm not walking away. I'm seeing this through. Silence on the other end. Then Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's my mistake to make. Then I can't help you. What happens next is on you. Marcus hung up. Lucas sat in his truck, hands shaking with adrenaline. He'd just turned down $50,000 and made an enemy of a man who'd already proven willing to kill. His phone rang again. This time it was Sarah. Lucas, something's wrong. There are men outside the motel, watching. I think they're waiting for me to leave. Don't move. I'm on my way. Lucas drove fast, breaking speed limits, not caring if he got pulled over. When he reached the motel, he parked a block away and approached on foot. Sarah was right. A black sedan sat in the parking lot with two men inside. They weren't even trying to be subtle. Lucas recognized the tactic. They wanted Sarah to know she was trapped. He called Margaret. We have a problem. Another one? Marcus has people watching Sarah. She can't leave without them following. Where are you? Outside the motel. Don't do anything rash. Define rash. Lucas. He hung up and called Sarah. You still have the evidence? Yes, all of it. Put it in a backpack, something you can grab fast. Why? Because we're getting you out of there. Lucas circled the motel, looking for options. The room Sarah was in faced the parking lot. Windows on one side, door on the other. The men in the sedan had clear sight lines to both, but there was a back alley, service entrance for housekeeping. If Sarah could get there without being seen, Lucas called her back. There's an alley behind the building. Can you get there from inside? Maybe, through the hallway, but they might have someone watching that too. We'll find out. I'm going to create a distraction. When you hear it, move, fast. Don't stop until you reach the alley. What kind of distraction? Lucas looked at his truck, at the men in the sedan who were clearly waiting for something. The stupid kind. He got in his truck and drove it straight into the motel parking lot, pulling up beside the sedan. Both men tensed, hands moving toward weapons. Lucas got out slowly, hands visible. You guys lost? This isn't exactly a 4-star establishment. The driver rolled down his window. Move along. Just being friendly. Don't see a lot of nice cars in this neighborhood. I said move along. Lucas pretended to consider it. Then he pulled out his phone and took a picture of their license plate. Hey! The passenger door opened. A large man in a suit stepped out. Delete that. Why? Public parking lot. I can take pictures of whatever I want. Delete it, or I'll take that phone and shove it down your throat. Wow, aggressive. You boys private security, cops, or just generic thugs? The man moved toward Lucas. Lucas stood his ground, waiting, counting seconds in his head. He needed to give Sarah time to move. Last warning, the man said. Lucas smiled. You're going to assault me in broad daylight? In a parking lot with security cameras? That's bold. The man glanced up, checking for cameras. There weren't any, but the moment of hesitation was enough. Lucas saw movement in his peripheral vision. Sarah slipping out through the service entrance, backpack on her shoulders. You know what? Lucas said. I think I will move along. You gentlemen have a nice day. He got back in his truck and drove away, watching the rearview mirror. The men were confused, unsure if they'd been played. By the time they checked the motel room and found it empty, Sarah would be gone. Lucas circled the block and pulled into the alley. Sarah was there, pressed against the wall, breathing hard. Get in. She did. Lucas drove, taking random turns, checking mirrors constantly. Where are we going? Sarah asked. Somewhere public, somewhere they can't grab us without witnesses. The police station? Lucas thought about Special Agent Morrison, about the FBI's certainty that Iris was guilty. Not yet. We need leverage first. His phone rang. Margaret again. The FBI agents reviewed the evidence, she said. They're taking it seriously, but they need time to investigate. Weeks, maybe months. We don't have weeks. I know. Which is why I've called a press conference in 2 hours. I'm presenting the allegations publicly, forcing the board to act immediately. Marcus and James will deny everything. Let them. The court of public opinion moves faster than criminal justice. Once this is out there, they're finished regardless of what the FBI does. Lucas thought about it. Where's the press conference? Hale Industries headquarters. Main lobby, 2 p.m. I'll be there. He hung up and looked at Sarah. We're going public. You ready for that? Will it help Iris? It might. Or it might make things worse, but it's the only move we have left. Sarah nodded. Then let's do it. They stopped at a coffee shop somewhere busy and anonymous. Lucas bought sandwiches they didn't eat and coffee they barely tasted. At 1:30, they drove to Hale Industries. The lobby was already filling with reporters, camera crews setting up, journalists checking equipment. Margaret had really called in every favor she had. Margaret herself stood near a makeshift podium, looking nervous but determined. When she saw Lucas and Sarah, she waved them over. "You're here." "We're here," Lucas confirmed. "The FBI's not happy about this. They called and threatened me with obstruction charges." "Are they going to arrest you?" "Probably not. I'm too visible now, but they're angry." Margaret checked her watch. "We start in 10 minutes. Are you ready to go on record?" Sarah nodded. "I'll say whatever you need. Just tell the truth. That's all we need." The minutes crawled by. Lucas watched the crowd grow, saw news vans pulling up outside. This was really happening. Margaret was about to blow up everything publicly. At exactly 2 p.m., she stepped to the podium. The cameras turned on. Reporters quieted. "Thank you for coming," Margaret said. "I'm Margaret Ashworth, senior board member of Hale Industries. I'm here today because I have evidence of a conspiracy within our organization. Evidence that our CEO, Iris Hale, has been falsely accused of crimes she didn't commit. Evidence that the real criminals are still operating within our company." A murmur went through the crowd. Reporters leaning forward, sensing a story. Margaret continued. "For the past 18 months, members of our executive team have been embezzling funds, sabotaging business deals, and planning a corporate coup. When their scheme was discovered, they attempted to murder Ms. Hale by sabotaging her vehicle. When that failed, they used their influence to have her arrested on false charges." "Do you have proof?" a reporter called out. "Yes. Financial records, audio recordings, witness testimony, all of which will be turned over to authorities." Margaret gestured to Sarah. "This is Sarah Lynn, Ms. Hale's executive assistant. She risked her career to document the conspiracy. She's prepared to testify." Sarah stepped forward, visibly nervous. "I recorded conversations between COO Marcus Chen and CFO James Portman. They explicitly discussed embezzling funds and arranging Ms. Hale's death." "Why should we believe you?" another reporter asked. "Because I have the recordings, and I'm willing to play them right now." Sarah pulled out her phone, connected it to a speaker. The audio filled the lobby. Marcus's voice. "The brake specialist confirmed it'll look like mechanical failure. No way to trace it back to us." James. "And if she survives?" Marcus. "She won't. I paid him enough to make sure it's thorough." The lobby erupted, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing. Margaret raised her hands for quiet. "The board is meeting tonight to vote on the immediate termination of Marcus Chen and James Portman. Criminal charges are being pursued, and we are calling for Ms. Hale's immediate release from federal custody." Lucas scanned the crowd. He saw shock, confusion, excitement. This was working. The narrative was shifting. Then he saw something else. David Reeves, the head of security, standing at the back of the lobby, watching, his hand inside his jacket. Lucas's instinct screamed. He moved towards Sarah and Margaret, putting himself between them and Reeves. "We need to go," he said quietly. "What?" Margaret looked confused. "Now. We need to leave now." "The press conference isn't—" An alarm blared. Fire alarm. The crowd started to panic, people pushing toward exits. In the chaos, Lucas saw Reeves moving toward them, not evacuating, approaching. "Run," Lucas said. He grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her toward a side exit. Margaret followed, finally understanding the danger. Behind them, Lucas heard Reeves shouting, "Stop! Security!" They burst through the exit into a stairwell. Lucas led them down, taking stairs 2 at a time. Behind him, he heard the door crash open. Reeves was following. "Keep moving," Lucas urged. They reached the ground floor and emerged into an underground parking garage. Lucas's truck was 3 levels up, useless. They needed another way out. "There," Sarah pointed. "Loading dock. Emergency exit." They ran for it. The door was locked, but Lucas kicked it hard, once, twice. It gave way, and they stumbled out into an alley, sirens in the distance. The fire department responding to the alarm Reeves must have triggered. "This way," Lucas said, leading them toward the street. They emerged onto a busy sidewalk, blending into foot traffic. Lucas kept checking behind them, but Reeves hadn't followed. Maybe he couldn't risk being seen chasing them publicly. "What now?" Sarah asked, out of breath. Lucas's phone rang, a number he recognized this time. The FBI. He answered. "Yeah?" "Mr. Reed, this is Special Agent Morrison. I just watched the press conference, or what there was of it before the fire alarm." "Wasn't me." "I know, but we need to talk. About the recordings. About everything you know." Her voice had changed. Less hostile, more urgent. "Marcus Chen and James Portman just tried to board a private plane. We stopped them at the airport. They're in custody now." Lucas felt something release in his chest. "You arrested them?" "Based on the evidence from the press conference, yes. We're holding them for questioning." Morrison paused. "You were right, Mr. Reed, about Iris Hale, about the conspiracy. We're dropping the charges against her. She's being released within the hour." Lucas leaned against a building, suddenly exhausted. "Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank whoever had the courage to record those conversations, and whoever had the guts to go public with them." Another pause. "We'll need statements. From you, from Ms. Lynn, from Miss Ashworth. But, Mr. Reed, you're not in trouble. Not anymore." She hung up. Lucas looked at Sarah and Margaret, both watching him hopefully. "They arrested Marcus and James," he said. "They're releasing Iris." Sarah burst into tears. Margaret just smiled, tired and relieved. "It's over?" Sarah asked. Lucas thought about that, about the press conference and the recordings, and the FBI finally understanding the truth. "Yeah," he said. "I think it's over." But even as he said it, Lucas knew the hard part was just beginning, because now Iris would have to rebuild her company, her reputation, her life. And Lucas would have to figure out where he fit in all of that, if he fit at all. His phone rang again. This time it was a number he didn't recognize. "Hello? Lucas?" Iris's voice, shaky but real. "They told me what you did. The press conference, the evidence, everything." "You're out?" "I'm out. They're processing my release now. Lucas, Thank you. You saved my life. Again. You would have done the same." "I don't know if I would have. You risked everything. Your freedom, your son. For someone you barely know." Lucas thought about Eli, probably getting off the school bus right now, wondering where his father was. "I should go," he said. "There's someone I need to see." "Of course, but Lucas, we're not done. You and me. This isn't over. Iris, I know what I said 1 week, but things have changed. You've changed them, and I don't want to lose that." Lucas didn't know what to say, didn't know how to explain that he couldn't be part of her world, that he had a son to raise and a quiet life to rebuild. "We'll talk," he said finally. "Later, when things settle." "I'm holding you to that." She hung up. Lucas stood there on the sidewalk, holding his phone, feeling the weight of choices he'd made and consequences he'd have to live with. "You should go home," Margaret said gently. "To your son. He needs you." "What about you two?" "We'll handle the FBI, give our statements, make sure this sticks." Margaret put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good, Lucas. Whatever happens next, remember that." Lucas nodded and walked away, leaving them on the sidewalk. He caught a cab back to the motel, got his truck, and drove home. Mrs. Chen's car was in the driveway. Through the window, Lucas could see Eli at the kitchen table doing homework, Mrs. Chen reading a magazine nearby. Normal. Safe. Exactly what Lucas had been fighting to preserve. He sat in his truck for a moment, gathering himself. Then he went inside. Eli looked up. "Dad!" He ran over and hugged Lucas hard. Lucas held him, feeling something break loose inside his chest. "I was worried," Eli said. "Mrs. Chen said you were handling grown-up stuff, but I thought maybe you weren't coming back." "I'm always coming back, always." "Promise?" Lucas thought about everything that had happened, about how close he'd come to not being able to keep that promise. "I promise," he said, "no matter what." Mrs. Chen stood up. "I should go. Let you two talk." "Mrs. Chen, Don't apologize. Just be more careful next time." She left quietly. Lucas and Eli sat at the kitchen table. "What happened?" Eli asked. Lucas thought about how to explain, about Iris and the conspiracy and the choice to help someone who needed it. Someone was in trouble, he said finally, and I helped them. It got complicated, but it worked out. Is it really over? The dangerous part, yeah. And the other parts? Lucas looked at his son. I don't know yet. But whatever comes next, you come first. Always. Eli nodded, accepting this. Can we have pizza for dinner? Lucas laughed, the tension finally breaking. Yeah, we can have pizza. They ordered delivery and ate in front of the TV, watching some cartoon Eli liked. Lucas's phone buzzed constantly with messages, but he ignored them. This moment, right now, was more important. Later, after Eli was asleep, Lucas sat on the porch and finally checked his phone. Texts from Iris, from Margaret, from Sarah, from numbers he didn't recognize. But the one that caught his attention was from Kevin, the hacker who'd made the building access badges. Saw the news. Nice work. You owe me the other 50 grand, though. Wire transfer this time. I don't do cash anymore. Lucas smiled. He'd forgotten about paying Kevin the second half. He texted back. Talk to Iris. She's handling payments now. Will do. Hey, if you ever need anything else, you know where to find me. Lucas didn't respond to that. He'd had enough of needing things, enough of conspiracies and danger and risking everything. But deep down, he knew it wasn't really over. Iris was out of jail, but her company was damaged. Marcus and James were arrested, but the legal battle would take months, maybe years. And somewhere in all of that, Iris would need help rebuilding. She'd said they weren't done, that things had changed. Lucas didn't know if that was true, didn't know if he wanted it to be. All he knew was that for tonight, Eli was safe. They were home, and the quiet life he'd built, however fragile, was still standing. Tomorrow would bring its own problems. But tonight, that was enough. 3 weeks passed before Lucas heard from Iris again. 3 weeks of returning to normal life, or trying to. The gas station. Eli's homework. Parent-teacher conferences where Mrs. Patterson seemed pleased that Eli was opening up more, talking to other kids at lunch. Whatever changed at home, she'd said, keep doing it. Lucas didn't tell her that what changed was him realizing his son was watching, learning, measuring his father's choices against some internal scale Lucas couldn't see. Eli had asked once, the night after everything ended, if Lucas was a hero now. No, Lucas had said, I just did what needed doing. Isn't that what heroes do? Lucas hadn't known how to answer that. The envelope with $50,000 arrived on a Tuesday, delivered by courier to the gas station. No note. Just cash in neat stacks and a business card with a phone number written on the back in Iris's handwriting. Lucas stared at it for a long time. He'd earned it, technically, done everything she'd asked, and more. But taking it felt like accepting something he wasn't ready to accept, like admitting this had all been a transaction instead of a choice. He put the envelope in his truck and didn't open it again for 2 days. The news covered the trial constantly. Marcus Chen and James Portman facing federal charges for embezzlement, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Their lawyers were good, expensive, building arguments about insufficient evidence and improper recording procedures. But the public had already convicted them. The recordings Sarah had made were everywhere, played on every news channel, dissected by every legal analyst. Iris appeared at a press conference looking tired but composed, flanked by Margaret Ashworth and a team of lawyers. She announced a full restructuring of Hale Industries, new oversight procedures, an independent audit. She looked powerful standing there, like someone who'd survived something that should have destroyed her and come out harder. Lucas watched from his living room while Eli did homework on the floor. When the reporters asked Iris about the man who'd saved her life, she smiled slightly and said, He's a private person. I'm respecting that privacy, but I owe him more than I can express. Eli looked up from his math worksheet. Is she talking about you? Maybe. Are you going to call her? Lucas looked at the business card on his coffee table, the one he'd been carrying in his pocket since the envelope arrived. I don't know. Why not? Because it's complicated. Everything's complicated with you, Eli said, echoing his words from weeks ago. Then, softer, but you like her. I can tell. Lucas wanted to deny it, but Eli was right. He did like her, respected her, admired the way she'd fought back against people trying to destroy her. But liking someone and fitting into their world were different things. Her life is very different from ours, Lucas said. So? Doesn't mean you can't be friends. Friends. Lucas thought about that, about what Iris had said on the phone. We're not done, you and me. He called the number that night after Eli was asleep. Iris answered on the first ring. I was starting to think you weren't going to call. I needed time to think. And? And I don't know what you want from me, Iris. The crisis is over. You're safe. The bad guys are in jail. We both go back to our lives. Is that what you want? Lucas looked around his small living room, the worn couch, the TV that was 10 years old, the life he'd built that was safe and quiet and completely insufficient now that he'd tasted something else. I don't know, he admitted. Can we meet? Talk about this in person? Where? Somewhere neutral, the park near your house, tomorrow afternoon? Lucas hesitated. Meeting her felt like crossing another line, one he couldn't uncross. Okay, he said anyway. The park was busy when Lucas arrived the next day, full of kids on playground equipment and parents watching from benches. He'd asked Mrs. Chen to watch Eli for an hour, told her he had an errand to run. She'd given him a knowing look, but didn't ask questions. Iris was already there, sitting on a bench away from the crowds. She wore jeans and a sweater, looking more normal than Lucas had ever seen her. No power suit, no CEO armor, just a woman who looked like she hadn't been sleeping well. Hey, she said when he sat down. Hey. They were quiet for a moment. Lucas watched kids climbing on monkey bars, their fearless certainty that someone would catch them if they fell. I didn't just want to thank you, Iris said finally. I could have done that in a note with the money. Why did you want to see me? Because I keep thinking about what you said. In the motel room, that first night, that you'd spent years being invisible, staying safe, not making waves. What about it? I've spent 15 years being the opposite, visible, loud, making waves constantly, building an empire by refusing to disappear. Iris looked at him. But these past few weeks, hiding, running, having no one to trust except a stranger who pulled me from a wrecked car, it made me realize how lonely I've been, how much I'd sacrificed to build something that almost got me killed. You're rethinking the empire business? I'm rethinking everything. What's the point of building something if you have no one to share it with? No real connections, just employees and board members and people who want something from you. Lucas understood that more than he wanted to admit. So what are you going to do? I'm stepping back, promoting Margaret to CEO, staying on the board but giving up day-to-day control. Iris smiled slightly. Turns out almost dying makes you reevaluate your priorities. That's a big change. Terrifying, actually. I don't know who I am without the company. It's been my identity for so long. She turned to face him directly. But I want to find out. And I was hoping maybe you'd want to figure out who you are too, outside of the gas station and the quiet life. Lucas felt something shift in his chest. What are you asking? I'm asking if you want to take a chance on something different, on someone who knows what it's like to rebuild from nothing. Iris, I have a kid, responsibilities. I can't just I know, I'm not asking you to abandon anything. I'm asking if there's room in your life for something more, for someone more. She paused. I like you, Lucas. I like that you helped me when you had every reason not to. I like that you lied to the FBI for me. I like that you called your son before making any major decision. I like that you're real and honest, and you don't want anything from me except maybe this conversation. You barely know me. I know you better than most people I've worked with for years. Crisis reveals character. Yours is solid. Lucas thought about Eli asking if he was a hero, about Mrs. Patterson saying something had changed at home, about the fact that he'd been walking around for weeks feeling like his old life didn't fit anymore. I'm not good at this, he said. Relationships, trusting people. I've spent so long being alone. Me too. Maybe we can be bad at it together. Lucas laughed despite himself. That's the worst sales pitch I've ever heard. I'm a CEO. Was a CEO. I'm used to people wanting what I'm offering. This is new territory for me too. A kid on the playground fell off the monkey bars. Lucas tensed automatically, but the kid's mother was already there, helping him up, checking for injuries. The kid was crying, but okay. These small rescues happened every day. Most people just didn't notice them. What would this even look like? Lucas asked. You live in the city. I live here. You're worth billions. I work at a gas station. Our lives don't exactly overlap. So we build overlap gradually. No pressure. Maybe we start with dinner, conversations, getting to know each other when someone's not trying to kill me. And Eli? I'd like to meet him. When you're ready, if you're ready. Lucas thought about his son, smart and observant and lonely in ways he tried to hide. About the question Eli had asked, "Don't you want friends?" "This is crazy," Lucas said. "Probably, but you pulled me from a burning wreck and helped expose a corporate conspiracy. Crazy seems to be your comfort zone." "It really isn't." "Mine either, but I'm willing to try if you are." Lucas looked at her, really looked, at the woman who'd demanded he run instead of calling for help, who'd survived an assassination attempt and fought back instead of disappearing, who'd built an empire and was now choosing to step away from it. "One dinner," he said. "No promises beyond that." Iris smiled and it transformed her face. "One dinner, that's all I'm asking." They exchanged phone numbers, real ones this time, not burner phones or emergency contacts. Made plans for Friday night. "Somewhere quiet," Iris suggested. "Somewhere we can actually talk." When Lucas got home, Eli was building something with Legos, some complicated structure that looked like it might collapse any second. "How was your errand?" Eli asked without looking up. "Good. Actually good. You sound weird. I might have a friend coming over for dinner Friday. If that's okay with you." Now Eli looked up. "A friend, like a date?" "Maybe. I don't know. It's complicated." Eli grinned. "Is it the lady from TV? The one who said you saved her life?" Lucas should have known his son would make the connection. "Yeah, it's her." "Cool. Can I meet her?" "That's kind of the point." "Does she know about Legos?" "I have no idea." "You should ask. It's important." Lucas laughed and sat down on the floor next to his son. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't pay attention." They built Legos together until dinner, and Lucas felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate kind that comes from escaping danger, but the quiet kind that comes from possibility. Friday arrived faster than Lucas expected. He cleaned the house, ordered food from a restaurant Iris suggested, and tried not to panic about the fact that a billionaire was coming to his rental house for dinner. Eli, meanwhile, seemed completely unbothered. He'd arranged his Lego collection in the living room like a museum exhibit and prepared a presentation about each model. "You don't have to show her everything," Lucas said. "Why not? If she's going to be around, she should know what I care about." 7-year-old logic, brutal in its honesty. Iris arrived exactly on time, driving a modest sedan instead of whatever expensive car Lucas had been expecting. She brought wine for Lucas and a Lego set for Eli that must have cost more than Lucas's monthly rent. "I asked the guy at the store what a smart 7-year-old would like," she said, handing it to Eli. "He recommended this one." Eli's eyes went wide. "This is the Master Builder series. It's like expert level." "Then I guess you're an expert." "I am. Dad says I'm too smart for my own good." "That's a compliment, you know." "I know." They had dinner at the small kitchen table, and Lucas watched as Iris asked Eli genuine questions about school, about dinosaurs, about the books he was reading. She didn't talk down to him or pretend to understand things she didn't. When Eli explained the intricacies of Jurassic period ecosystems, she listened like it actually mattered. "Your dad tells me you're good at being alone," Iris said during dessert. "Reading at recess instead of playing with other kids." Eli glanced at Lucas, uncertain. "Is that bad?" "Not at all. I was the same way. Still am, kind of. Sometimes it's easier to be alone than to let people close enough to disappoint you." "Exactly," Eli said, relieved to be understood. "People are complicated." "They are. But sometimes the complicated ones are worth it." After dinner, Eli showed Iris his Lego collection. Lucas stood in the doorway watching as his son explained each model, the stories behind them, the techniques he'd learned. Iris sat on the floor listening, asking questions, actually engaging instead of just being polite. When Mrs. Chen came to take Eli to her house for a sleepover they'd planned earlier, Eli hugged Iris goodbye like they were old friends. "You should come back," he said. "I'll have the new set done by next week. I'd like that." After they left, Lucas and Iris sat on the porch drinking wine and watching the stars come out. "He's amazing," Iris said. "You've done an incredible job with him. I've just tried not to screw him up too badly. That's all any parent can do." She paused. "My mother died when I was 12. My father raised me alone. He worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. I built Hale Industries for him, to prove that his sacrifices meant something. Did he see it? The empire you built?" "He died 6 years ago. Heart attack. But yeah, he saw it. Told me he was proud." Iris's voice was quiet. "He also told me I worked too much. That success didn't mean anything if I was alone. I didn't listen. Too focused on the next deal, the next acquisition. And now here I am, almost murdered by my own executives, realizing he was right." Lucas understood that. The way you could build something that looked like success from the outside while being completely empty inside. "I told myself I was keeping Eli safe," Lucas said. "Working nights, staying invisible, not letting anyone get close. But really, I was just scared. Scared of being hurt again. Scared of failing. So I built walls and called it protection. And now? Now I'm realizing walls keep things out, but they also keep you trapped." Iris turned to look at him. "So what do we do about it?" "I guess we start knocking down some walls, carefully, together." She smiled. "That sounds terrifying." "Probably will be." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Lucas thought about the past few weeks, about how much had changed since that stormy night when he'd pulled a stranger from a wrecked car. He'd thought he was saving her life. Turned out she was saving his too, in a different way. "Can I ask you something?" Iris said. "Sure." "The money I sent, you didn't deposit it. Why?" "Because if I took it, this became a transaction. You paid me to help you, but that's not why I did it." "Then why did you?" Lucas thought about that, about the moment he decided to lie to Officer Mitchell, to hide Iris in the motel, to risk everything. "Because you asked. And because I was tired of watching life happen to other people while I stayed safe on the sidelines. And because," he paused, trying to find the right words, "because I saw something in you that night. Fear, yeah, but also this determination not to give up, to fight back even when everything was against you. I respected that, maybe even needed to see it." "What are you going to do with the money?" "I don't know. Put it toward Eli's college, maybe? Or keep it for emergencies? Or give it to Mrs. Chen for everything she's done for us. It's yours, no strings. I meant that." "I know." They finished the wine and Iris stood to leave. At her car, she turned back. "Lucas, I know we're taking this slow, no pressure, but I want you to know something." "What?" "You're the first person in 15 years who's seen me at my absolute worst and decided I was worth sticking around for anyway. That means more than I can explain. You saved yourself. I just provided backup. That's all anyone really needs, someone to provide backup when things get bad." She smiled. "I'll call you this week?" "I'd like that." Lucas watched her drive away, then sat back down on the porch. His phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Ashworth. "Trial starts next month. Prosecutor wants you to testify." "You okay with that?" Lucas typed back. "Yeah, I'll be there." Another text, this time from Sarah Lynn. "Thank you again for everything. I got promoted. Assistant to the CEO. Margaret says I earned it." Lucas smiled. "You did. Congratulations." The weeks that followed developed a rhythm. Iris came for dinner every Friday. Sometimes she brought takeout, sometimes Lucas cooked, sometimes they ordered pizza and let Eli choose. They talked about everything and nothing. Her fears about stepping back from the company, his worries about being a good father. The weird tension of starting something new when you were both too old to pretend you didn't have baggage. Eli took to Iris immediately, which surprised Lucas less than it should have. His son had been lonely too, craving connection but not knowing how to ask for it. Iris understood that. She didn't try to replace anyone or force anything. She just showed up and listened and built Legos and asked questions that made Eli think. "Dad's happier now," Eli said one night after Iris left, "since you started being friends with her." "Yeah?" "Yeah, you smile more. You don't look worried all the time." Lucas hadn't realized it was that obvious, but Eli was right. The constant tension he'd carried for years had eased. Not gone completely, but manageable. The trial came faster than expected. Lucas sat in the witness box wearing a suit Iris had bought him, which he'd initially refused until she pointed out that showing up in gas station coveralls might undermine his credibility. Marcus Chen's lawyer was aggressive, trying to paint Lucas as unreliable, a criminal himself, someone with a shady past who'd helped Iris fabricate evidence. "Isn't it true you worked in private military contracting?" the lawyer asked. "Yes." "And that you left that career under suspicious circumstances?" "I left because I wanted a different life." "You were investigated for using excessive force, weren't you?" "I was cleared of those charges. But the investigation happened." Lucas kept his voice steady. "A lot of things happen in war zones. I did my job. I came home. I built a different life, that's all. A life that included helping a fugitive evade authorities, helping someone who asked for help. There's a difference." The prosecutor redirected, asking Lucas to describe the break line, the recordings, the evidence they'd collected. Marcus and James sat at the defense table looking confident, like men who believed money and lawyers could fix anything. But the jury's faces told a different story. They'd heard the recordings, seen the financial evidence, listened to Sarah's testimony about what she'd witnessed. When the verdict came down 3 weeks later, Lucas was at work. Guilty on all counts, Marcus Chen and James Portman facing 15 to 20 years each. Iris called him immediately. "Did you hear?" "Yeah, Morrison texted me." "It's over, really over." "How do you feel?" "Relieved. Angry that it took this long. Sad that people I trusted betrayed me this badly." She paused. "But also grateful. For you. For Sarah. For Margaret. For everyone who refused to let them get away with it." "What now?" "Now I start figuring out who I am when I'm not fighting for my life." Lucas understood that. He was doing the same thing. 2 months after the trial, Iris invited Lucas and Eli to her apartment in the city. It was the first time they'd been to her space, and Lucas had braced for something intimidating. Marble floors, expensive art, the kind of place that made you afraid to touch anything. Instead, he found a surprisingly normal apartment. Nice, definitely, but lived in. Books everywhere. A kitchen that looked used. Pictures on the walls of places she'd traveled and people who mattered. "I got rid of most of the fancy stuff," Iris said, seeing him look around. "Realized I was keeping it to impress people I didn't even like. Now it's just things I actually care about." Eli immediately found her bookshelf and started examining titles. Lucas stood in the living room feeling something he couldn't quite name. "You okay?" Iris asked. "Yeah, just thinking." "About?" "About how different this is from what I expected. When you said you were stepping back from the company, I thought you meant gradually, but you really did it." "I really did. Margaret's doing great as CEO. Better than I was, honestly. She actually delegates instead of micromanaging everything." Iris moved closer. "Turns out when you stop trying to control everything, life gets easier. Who knew?" "How terrifying is it?" "Very. I wake up some mornings and have no idea what I'm supposed to do. No meetings, no deals, just time and choices." "What do you do with it?" "I'm figuring that out. Therapy, actually. Trying to understand why I built my entire identity around work, reading, traveling, spending time with people I care about." She looked at him meaningfully. Lucas felt his heart speed up. They'd been doing this dance for months now. Dinners, conversations, carefully not labeling what they were to each other. "Iris, I know we're taking it slow. I know you have Eli to think about. I know this is complicated." She took his hand. "But I want you to know I'm serious about this. About you. About being part of your life, if you'll let me." "I want that too. I'm just scared." "I know. Me too. But I'm tired of being scared." Eli called from the bookshelf. "Iris, you have the entire encyclopedia of dinosaurs. Can I read it?" "You can borrow it if you want." "Really? Dad never lets me borrow things from people. He says it's too much responsibility." "I trust you," Iris said simply. Lucas watched his son's face light up with something that looked like belonging. Like he'd found someone who understood him in ways Lucas tried to but couldn't quite reach. That night, after Eli fell asleep on Iris's couch with the encyclopedia, Lucas and Iris stood on her balcony looking at the city lights. "I never thanked you properly," Lucas said, "for pulling me out of my own wreck. I didn't do anything. You gave me a reason to be something other than invisible. To take risks. To let people in." He turned to face her. "I've spent years being afraid, of getting hurt, of failing Eli. of being the person I was overseas. But you made me realize that being afraid and being alive are different things. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to try this. Really try. Not just dinners and careful conversations. I want to see where this goes. Iris smiled, and it was the first time Lucas had seen her look genuinely, completely happy. Yeah? Yeah. It's terrifying and complicated and probably a terrible idea. Those are my favorite kind. They kissed there on the balcony, and Lucas felt something settle in his chest. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of something stronger. Hope. Connection. The possibility of building something real with someone who'd seen him at his worst and stayed anyway. When they went back inside, Eli was awake, pretending to read but clearly watching them. Are you guys, together now? He asked. Maybe, Lucas said. How would you feel about that? Eli considered this seriously. I think it's good. You need someone who's as weird as you are. And Iris has good taste in books. High praise, Iris said, laughing. I'm serious. Books are important. 6 months later, Lucas quit the gas station. Iris had offered him a job at Hale Industries doing security consulting, but he turned it down. He didn't want to work for her. Instead, he started his own small security firm, using skills from his past to help small businesses protect themselves. It was terrifying. It was hard. But it was his. Eli started 3rd grade and made actual friends. Kids who liked dinosaurs and books and building things. He still spent time alone, but by choice now, rather than necessity. And Iris became part of their lives in ways Lucas couldn't have imagined. She wasn't trying to be Eli's mother, and Eli wasn't looking for one. But she was present, reliable, someone who showed up and stayed. They took trips together, small ones at first, weekend getaways, then bigger. Iris teaching Eli about places she'd traveled, Lucas teaching both of them about slowing down enough to actually experience things instead of just checking boxes. Marcus Chen and James Portman appealed their convictions. The appeals were denied. They'd be in prison for the next 15 years minimum, their empire-building days over. Sarah Lynn thrived as Margaret's assistant, eventually earning her MBA and moving into strategic planning. She sent Lucas a Christmas card every year with a note that said simply, "Thank you for giving me a chance to be brave." Mrs. Chen continued watching Eli, now joined by Iris for occasional evenings. The two women formed an unlikely friendship, trading recipes and stories about the stubborn men in their lives. And Lucas learned something he'd spent years running from. That safety and connection weren't opposites, that you could build walls to protect yourself, but eventually those walls became a prison, that the people worth keeping in your life were the ones who saw your worst moments and chose to stay anyway. 1 year after pulling Iris from that wreck, Lucas stood in the same park where they'd had their first real conversation. Eli was on the playground with friends. Iris sat beside him on the bench, her hand in his. "You ever think about that night?" she asked. "What would have happened if you'd called the ambulance instead of helping me run?" "All the time." And I'd probably still be working at the gas station, still telling myself I was keeping Eli safe by keeping everyone at a distance, still half alive instead of actually living. You don't regret it? Any of it? Lucas thought about the FBI interviews, the trial, the danger they'd faced, about stepping out of the shadows and into a life that felt real. Not for a second. Eli ran over, out of breath and grinning. "Dad, can we get ice cream? Sarah's mom said she'd take everyone if you say yes." "Sure, go tell her I said okay." Eli ran off. Lucas watched him, this kid who'd gone from lonely to loved, from isolated to connected, who'd learned by watching his father that taking risks for the right reasons was worth it. "He's going to be okay," Iris said quietly. "Better than okay. Because of you. Because you showed him what it looks like when someone chooses to be brave." "I think we showed each other that." Lucas pulled her closer, feeling the weight of choices made and consequences accepted, and a future that looked nothing like the one he'd planned, but everything like the one he needed. On the playground, Eli laughed at something his friend said. The sound carried across the park, pure and unguarded. The sound of a kid who felt safe enough to be loud, to take up space, to trust that people would catch him if he fell. Lucas had pulled Iris from a wreck that night, but in doing so, he'd pulled himself out of one too. A different kind of wreck. The kind built from fear and isolation, and the belief that staying invisible was the same as staying safe. Some rescues happened in moments. a hand reaching through broken glass, a decision made in seconds that changed everything. But other rescues happened slowly, in conversations over dinner, in choosing to trust someone who'd earned it, in letting down walls one brick at a time until light finally got through. Lucas had spent years believing that the best thing he could give Eli was safety. But what Eli needed, what they both needed, was something more: connection, purpose, the knowledge that taking chances on people who mattered was the only way to build a life worth living. The ice cream truck pulled up, music playing. Eli and his friends ran toward it, shouting their orders. Iris stood and held out her hand. "Come on, I'm buying." Lucas took her hand and stood. "You always buy." "I'm a billionaire. It's what we do." Former CEO billionaire who stepped away from running an empire. Semantics. They walked toward the ice cream truck together, part of this imperfect family they'd built from wreckage and trust, and the stubborn refusal to give up on each other. And Lucas thought about all the nights he'd stood behind that gas station counter, watching headlights pass, convinced that invisibility was strength, that isolation was protection. He'd been wrong, and he'd never been happier to be wrong about anything, because the truth was simpler and harder than he'd imagined. You survived by being seen, by letting people close enough to hurt you and trusting they'd choose not to, by pulling others from their wrecks and letting them pull you from yours, by understanding that the opposite of danger isn't safety, it's connection. And connection, messy and complicated and terrifying as it was, turned out to be the only thing worth fighting for.